Hello and welcome to another episode of The Captain's Table. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. I'm also your professor at the Astro Historian. If you want to know lore about space, lore of space. Oh man, I can't even think off the top of my head. I'm trying to add that in there to try to connect the channels more because there's so many people coming in being like, oh, wait, I didn't know you streamed on Twitch, the Astro Historian, or people going, wait, you're the Astro Historian? Like, yeah, I am. Sci-fi, space, and more. Yeah, space, sci-fi, and more. That's what it is. Lore of space, sci-fi, and more.
Lore. You should have added husband of that famous writer person.
Yes, I am also the husband of the famous writer Camilla Shelley, who has a fantastic book you should go buy called Panic Eyes. It was her first, their first professionally published novel. So, but this is The Captain's Table. This is a podcast about Star Citizen that I've been doing for 8 years now. We're on season 8, episode 36 is what this is.
Too long, Paul. Too long.
It's too long.
Past episode 7 now. You got to start a new show.
Yeah.
Season 8, man.
Yeah. So some people are asking where Loken is. Loken was originally going to be part of this, but at the literally last minute, he had a family emergency that he had to leave. So he wasn't able to make it. So he will be back in a future episode. But with this, I've brought the info runners on to talk about ships of Star Citizen, especially ships of IAE.
Ships.
And I will do the introduction for what info runners are because I am also an info runner. And then I'll let these folks introduce themselves. So the info runners is a collective. What do you call a collection of Star Citizen fans?
Cult.
A cult. Yeah.
Nerds. That cult works actually.
Yeah.
For us especially.
Especially. Yeah. We are a cult of Star Citizen fans who worship the Endeavor and also give advice and talk about Star Citizen as a game. And we're mostly known for our ship reviews, for our Fix Our Fleet. We do reviews on ships that get released every kind of major sale or new ships that come out to give you kind of ideas about, hey, is this worth paying for and that kind of stuff.
Known for talking too much about this game, probably.
Yes, probably.
True.
And you'll find myself, Space Tomato, Execute, Loken, Algrid,
few others that have kind of drifted off. We'll leave it at that, I think.
So, but we're most of us have other content or other things we do, and we come in and go from the group. So, if you want to see our collective effort talking about just cool ships and stuff like that. So, I will also say this is the first use of a new technology developed by Sir Piggles, which was originally used for the info runners and was given to me to test out for the Captain's Table, which is I have a test bot, a test question bot that works. So if you are interested in asking questions to this, if you're watching this live and you are interested in asking questions to any of the panel, then all you have to do is put question, the preface before your actual question, and the bot will capture it. Try to keep your questions on pace because this means that there's going to be a lot more people who will be able to ask questions, and I'm gonna skip questions that are either trite or don't match what we're talking about or whatever, just because I know that we're going to get a lot of people talking and asking questions about stuff. But with that all the way, let's introduce our cast for today, starting with the man from Tomato Space. Oh,
that got creepy real quick. Just tentacle tomato aliens. Wow. You need a merch like that, like the tomato from outer space. That'll be mad. I want that shirt. Make that shirt. I'll buy that.
We're creepy, man. We're just scaring more of the kids from their tomatoes and their vegetables.
Yeah.
Where the fears come from.
Well, you got to make shirts for different audiences. Some for adults, some for the kids. You do both.
Yeah. Adult garden content, yes.
I have decided, according to X, Tomato is a Lovecraftian entity who is beyond measure and knowledge. And we've brought them here today to talk about starships. Space Tomato, who are you?
Pull that off.
Who are you?
Pull that off.
Dude.
Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can we find you?
Well, I am apparently I am the I guess the Star Citizen version of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Would that be?
Yeah.
I'm Space Tomato. I do Space Tomato content. If you don't know what that is, I don't blame you. I mostly cover Star Citizen. Sometimes games that I prefer otherwise outside of Star Citizen, but like it definitely sticks to space stuff mostly. Got a few YouTube channels. The main one is Space Tomato, and that's really all you need to know about. The other two are kind of garbage. Don't worry about them. But if you do like garbage content, I also post gameplay and a whole bunch of podcasts and longer form stuff where I once again talk too much about this game or other games or news. Yeah, that's mostly it. I also stream on Twitch and YouTube, and we have a big old community on Discord if you want to join. It's just like a chill
You're
group.
underselling that. Like the amount of time you put into your videos is absolutely freaking bananas. Like every time I log on, it just says editing. Like everyone else is like playing Star Citizen or playing something, and it's just like editing. Yeah,
I will hype Tomato up. Tomato has some of the best cinematic discussion videos you will ever have out. It is, and Tomato produces at such high quality and high content at such like frequency that if you want to follow anything about Star Citizen, Tomato has a video on it, and it's probably done in a style that's better than 90% of YouTubers who make millions. Like,
but everybody's got their angle, and
if Tomato was Tomato, if you were making videos at that quality about any other popular title, you would have 1 million subscribers. You know that.
No, dude. No, absolutely. I've been told that specifically it's the Star Citizen grift.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, but if you keep doing what you're doing, like as the game kind of grows, you're gonna just explode.
I would honestly, I can't wait to make more videos about other games. It's just like there aren't
any games
say this
like Star Citizen.
Yeah, I am like, this isn't just being a ridiculous fanboy. There are just not any other games that make me that interested, not in playing them or enjoying them, but in specifically covering them in that way on YouTube. Like
it kills other games for you. It does. It just kills other games. Like, you're just like, but I know what this is going to be, and this is not going to be as good as that. And it's just like, I'm done.
I enjoy other games playing Star Citizen. After playing Star Citizen, it's just I always hit the point where I hit a game and I'm like, you know, it'd be neat if it had this. All right, Star Citizen has that. Man, I wish Star Citizen wasn't so broken right now.
Yeah, like, man, I wish Star Citizen had that.
It goes both ways.
And then Execute. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? And where can they find you?
I'm former space hobo. No, I guess I'm like I kind of do the infrunners with our grid most of the time. I kind of pull you guys in when you're not busy. I wrangle the herd, so to speak. I don't know. We do a bit of everything. We talk a lot. We were saying that before the show. I've got to start playing the game a lot more because all the streams we do, they just get hijacked, and all we do is answer questions for 3 hours. Yeah. So I actually want to play the game a bit more and talk about the actual. I kind of noticed that this week on the ISC this week. Like I do need to talk a bit more about the hardware and that kind of side of it behind it, because I do have that knowledge base, but I don't use it as much as I should. But we do a little bit of everything, you know. I think the CCU stuff at this time of year is what we're really kind of known for. Or I'm not going to change it and call it upgrades because that's what they renamed it to. Yeah. But yeah, just helping people financially. Like it's a big thing. I don't know if you know what I did with my Polaris by the week. I got it down to $110.
What? A Polaris for $110. All right. So you heard it now.
It's the record now. It's the record now. It broke the Carrick record. Yeah,
if you want to know how to get a $800, possibly $900 ship for less than $110 or less than,
you won't be able to do it. Yeah. Like it's not possible anymore. Like those. So one of the CCUs was a Starfarer Gemini to Banner Merchantman. It's like a $300 discount.
Yeah. Yeah, so
the people I saw got down to about 140.
Yeah, so that's the kind of things that we do at the InfoRunners. Those sorts of videos and those sorts of tutorials on how to CCU chain, so you can save massive amounts of money if you want to get a ship. So,
Yeah.
All right. With that all being said, let's talk about the theme for today. This has become a tradition where before every major sale, like Invictus or IAE, I try to bring on the info runners on because we all talk about ships on the regular. So they kind of bring a little bit of info runners into the captain's table.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about the ships of IAE. We're going to start off with the ships that we know are coming out of the IAE that are new. And then we'll kind of go into more speculation territory about the ships that might be coming out, including some rumored stuff. And lastly,
rumors because I don't want to spend money.
Lastly, what I'll add on to this is because it's always good for new players who are just hopping in because 4.0 just reached wave 1 as of before we went live. I went live today. With 4.0 going into wave 1, what is y'all's like suggestions for new players if they're looking to get in? What kind of packages would you suggest looking for and why? We'll go that at the very end, but we'll start off with the new ships, starting with the smallest all the way up to the biggest. I'm going to start with just tell me your opinions, goods, bads, buy or not buy, with the Intrepid, the Crusader Intrepid. Execute. What are your thoughts on the Crusader Intrepid?
So I was really surprised to see a lot of blowback to this, and it seemed to be a lot around aesthetics. I think we need to kind of wait till officially goes to the sale, because that was the other thing that kind of surprised me. I don't know if you guys noticed on the YouTube feed, there was a lot of reviews of these ships. I'm like, but they're not out. How can you review them? And then obviously they've changed the gun on it. So I was like, that's kind of why we wait to do buyer's guides, don't we? We always wait to the sale is on and they're out to do a buyer's. We'll do a first impressions, which I've done already, and I'm sure you boys have done that as well. But I think you have to leave your buyer's guide till they're officially on sale.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good idea to give advice on how to spend your money before it's like. I mean, that goes for it. That's why I don't really do buyer's guides, because that can happen at any point during Star Citizen's whole development.
Yeah.
Like the Corsair. How many people are unhappy about the Corsair changes?
Well, they're going to be changes along the way, but again, when people are actually buying, they do want that peace of mind. It's hard. Like there's not many people that do kind of financial advice. Like they'll recommend stuff, and I think you have to be very, very generalistic when you do recommendations and stuff, and don't ever tell people what to do.
Yeah.
We're always like, you do what you want to do. This is just what we recommend, and I think that's the safest way to do it. And then when you get into a fix my fleet, that's them kind of asking for help, and you kind of go, this is our recommendations. You do what you want, but it's an intervention really in a weird way, isn't it, when we do that stuff?
Yeah. Well, it's when you did it with me, which was an interesting one, was like a lot of the problem is that a lot of people the one things that I think that a lot of people don't understand about how Star Citizen players buy ships is that Star Citizen players buy ships on vibes. Like most people do not care. They're like, does this look cool? Does it match the gameplay I want to play? I'm gonna get it. Like the Banu Merchantman is super.
A lot of them too.
Banu Merchantman is super hype, and everyone wants to say Banu Merchantman. But I doubt that most of the people who own a Banu Merchantman are going to use it for its actual intended purpose as a mobile bazaar, because they just want the aesthetics. It looks cool. Like. Similar like the Polaris or the other ship. Like when the Perseus comes out, a lot of people are going to get it for combat, but also because it's neat. Like that's just how this sort of thing works. Yeah. And as a result, like when I had a bunch of hodgepodge of stuff when you did the Fix My Fleet, you told me about something I didn't even know existed, which was the 2948 exploration package, the one that had the Carrack in it that was like super discounted, and I was like, what? And I realized that if I melted everything right, I could get that package, and I was like, well, that's actually a really good deal, and that sort of thing. So when we do things like Fix My Fleet, it's more of a, not necessarily like an intervention, but more of a kind of like,
no. Some people it's an intervention. Oh, I'm seriously telling you, it's an intervention.
Stop buying. But a lot of it is. But a lot of it is also like recontextualization. Because one of the things we often say on the Info Runners when we talk about ships is like, don't buy fighters. Why do you need this? Earn down. These sorts of mantras, so that people can understand, like, if you're gonna already spend $600 on a video game, you probably want to spend $600 in a video game in a way that is going to make you feel good, or at least make you happier when you play the game, rather than just because you want to. So
maybe spend $600 on your 4086 before you, and upgrade your PC before. Because we see that a lot too. People that have like these massive fleets and they can't even play the game properly.
Yeah.
So they get caught up in the hype. But,
Hey man, the ships last longer than my graphics cards. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. So the Intrepid was the question. Tangent. But I don't know. I guess I've put this back to you guys a little bit. I don't think it's that far off a Crusader ship. Like, I see where they're kind of going. They're trying to make it more boxy as they get cheaper. I think there's only one line I didn't like, and that's the kind of diagonal one between the gun and the cockpit, because it does look a little bit squiffy. But you've got to look at it, and it's really weird. It's almost like the body of the Ares, but the functionality of the Spirit. Like, you can see where they're going, because on the Ares, it does have that diagonal line, but I think a lot of people see it more as a Spirit-esque ship, so they're expecting the straight line. And there's that image. Hang on. I'll send you an image, Paul. I don't even bring it up. I was talking to Piggles about it. Hang on. This one here. Copy... Because this really shows it very eloquently. If I can, sorry, I'm trying to get back to this screen to send it to you. Professional, huh? Do it live.
Professional.
Yeah. So that's kind of what people are carrying on about, that it's not symmetrical, and then there's this kind of diagonal line thing.
All right, I'm gonna open this up, and I'm going to.
What is that line lining up with? Like, what's
you'll see when it comes up. It's just easier to see it than talk about it.
No, I see it. But I'm trying to decide, like, is it the center of the ship?
Yeah, well, that's what they think. They think it's off because it's just a different design where it's completely asymmetrical and off to one side. They want it to be the whole ship symmetrically lined up with the cockpit, and that's what's pissing them off. And I'm like, well, it's just a different design. You're gonna have to live with it. Yeah. Does that mean we get more ships like this in the future? Yeah, potentially.
The MSR and the Ares aren't symmetrical ships, but they just have their cockpit in the center.
Yeah. But also, it's symmetrical on different sides. The MSR is on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Where the Ares is on the right. So that actually makes this ship more like the Ares, but it functions as a cargo ship. That's also throws people, you see. And that's why when you look at that line, you can see the Ares has the diagonal line.
I mean, I love the lore and the connection between the ships, but I don't think the direction of asymmetry in the ship is going to be that important long term.
Neither. No. But some people are getting really caught up on it.
I mean, I'm very much for the whole making sure that they match the way that they have their design processes, but like that's a bit much.
Let me put it this way: if you glanced at it, would you think it's a Crusader ship?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what they're really looking for. It's like there's plenty of designs of ships out there that are not ships, like cars, that if you just glance at it, you're like, that's a Ford, that's a Toyota.
You don't have to bring that up. You don't have to bring that one up. I just put in our chat.
Yeah, but
that's some of the shit people were putting on there. Like there was just hate on that Reddit. It was insane. There's a picture of a train taking out another train, and it's one's like essentially CIG the Intrepid. Like, I'll leave it at that. Like, it's really harsh.
Calling it the ugliest piece of dog shit is kind of like intensive for a ship. But
I mean, but that even like as the ugliest shit in the ugliest ship in the game, even if it is holding that position, it's like not.
It will never. It will never ever beat the Redeemer. I don't care. You can.
That's personal, man.
That is.
You got to take that up. You need to talk to somebody about that.
Listen,
you need some couch time for that.
I will not go to therapy. I will put all of my rage and anger into the Redeemer. Okay.
The Redeemer is your master mode.
Yes.
Okay.
Space. I did talk to some of the devs about making a special skin for Paul, just to take it to the next level. Maybe on the cards. We'll have to wait and see.
Space Tomato, your thoughts on the Intrepid? Goods, bads, that kind of stuff.
I like the interior.
I do too.
They're like honing in on exactly what kind of ship I want in this game, and I think it is like they've basically hit all around it. I think there's a let's see, there's a difference between accuracy and precision.
Yeah.
One of them is getting close to the target. The other one is hitting a similar spot every time.
Yeah.
Whatever one is close to the target, that's where they are.
I think it's accuracy. Yeah.
Somewhere between the Intrepid, the Zeus, kind of in the Spirit area is my perfect daily driver one-person ship. And I think it's going to be made by Crusader. I think the Intrepid gets very close. If it had double the cargo, and I think if the exterior was made a little bit differently, I think it's a little thick and, like you said, blocky, and maybe they're trying to do that for some of their lower
Are you fat
level
shaming?
ships. But huh?
Are you fat shaming?
I'm block shaming, buddy.
Yeah, block shaming. Yeah,
They don't have the curves I like. No, but it's definitely, there are a couple changes I would make, but the Intrepid gets very close to what I would like to see from a daily driver. That is a habitation area, an easy non-ladder entrance. I think that's a big one, and like a cargo bay or some form of cargo. Like the Nomad is also right there. Very, very nice daily driver size ship. It's just not laid out the way that I would like, and it doesn't have the design I'd like. So I think what they've made with the Intrepid is a very good evolution of the starter ship. It has space for engineering, space for cargo, space for habitation, space to fly, space to cook, space to store your stuff. And that storing your stuff is going to get important when you compare it to smaller starter ships that don't have suit lockers, and we're getting to more planets that are more dangerous. I just think it's not necessarily the design I would like. And I think maybe that would be something that a lot of people feel, like the overall idea and general shape of this ship looks good, but the details kind of throw people off. And I think it's good to have ships that do that.
Yeah, I always kept coming back to what you always say about there's got to be things in this game that I hate for everyone to like it. That's borne so much fruit since you said that like 4 years ago. Like I use it all the time now. The thing I want to talk about though, why I've got both of you here though, was on stream yesterday. I brought this up, right, and it really changed Moist's perspective on the Intrepid, and I'm hoping to kind of do that with chat here as well. And maybe spread the word on it.
Chat not like
if you think
there's people in chat who likes it.
They started to turn around when I brought this up. So if you think about what happened with the Pisces, we had the Pisces, and then 12 months later we had the C8R. We had the Cutter, then 12 months later we had the Cutter Scout and the Cutter Rambler. So I want you guys to think 12 months down the line, we already know they built these all at the same time. What are the variants that are coming for this thing, right? Now the ones that we came up. Go ahead.
I already know. The two ones that came up the top of my head are what is this ship designed for? And it's clear from the get-go, this is a starter smuggler. That's what this is. This is a starter smuggling ship. This is a baby Mercury.
You're biased though. You would love
that. Yeah, you are so damn biased. It's not funny.
But that's the reason why I like the ship. But that's the thing. It's like, why do they have the asymmetric style? Well, what's the most iconic smuggling ship in sci-fi history?
Oh, true.
And
He's got you there.
Tried to remake.
He's got us there.
And it's an asymmetrical ship. Like, and that's the thing. It's like this is CIG's designer going. That's what they're trying to do. It's fast as hell. It's got lots of cargo or lots of fuel, small cargo. But a lot of sort of like livable, like the idea is this ship is to go out and live your smuggler's dreams, but you can go wherever you want to and not have to worry about like settling down much. That's what this ship is designed for. So if this is the smuggler variant, then we need the other variants that you'd have in this sort of style that would match up the speed and longevity. Bounty hunting. And
that's the one I came up with straight away because of the way those two cargoes come down. Yeah. They're built for those the new horizontal kind of pods.
They could put change the size 4 to a bespoke size 4 or 5, like some sort of like weapon or a disabling weapon,
or even a turret, because it's still got the space on the back, kind of like the Spirit does. So you can add a turret.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and a turret, like a turret of like 2 or 3, like a 2 size 1s or 2s on there, and it would make it more dangerous. But if you make it a bespoke like distortion weapon, then it would still kind of make it very niche. So you got that, and then the other thing you could do is a explorer slash like
That's what I'm thinking.
because it's fast and it's got
Ooh,
range.
You went different to me. Okay, my other two variants were a cargo max variant, so it's got extra cargo, but it kind of gives up a bit more of the engineering base. So you could actually have like 16 SCU potentially, like it extends to the roof, so to speak, because there is room above them to go higher, right? And then the last variant I had was a data running variant, but I ruled that out later because it's got there's these three things on the back, and I just can't get over what they are. There's these three. Do you know what I'm talking about on the back? There's those three, like, and I'm like, what the hell are they? I haven't ever seen anything like that on a ship, and it's almost like they're covering up something that could be there on other variants.
Yeah,
I could be seeing something that's completely not there, as I've done before with other ships, but it's just really weird. And that's when someone brought up, like, what if they're data ports? And then I could see that, but the problem is it's exactly the same size class as the Herald, and Moist suggested instead of the gun, what if it had the radar dish thing?
I would say an exploration variant makes a lot of sense for this because it just it reeks of kind of the original goal of the Mustang Beta.
Yeah,
I think it was the sort of camper van ship. This feels so much like that. Like this is a very not self-sustainable kind of ship, but it's like as long as you have the supplies, you can live out of this thing as a solo player.
Doesn't it also have a chill couch on it? If I remember correctly,
Yeah,
it's got
it has a little couch in the side of the room. Yeah.
What if that was what if it was a scanner, like a mini Terrapin?
That's my thing. I think that Space Photo is right, is that it's Explorer, and I think what they'll do is they'll swap out the gun for a bespoke scanner upgrade, so that it's completely defenseless. But you can just go anywhere you want to, and you have a nice big, thick, scanning device. So
you put data banks on that, and it is like the Herald. Then.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? So what? Like it's an like half Explorer, half data runner.
Most of these ships that we see that are variants of starter ships aren't really one starter ship. They're like sort of trending on a lot of different ideas. Like the Rambler is sort of like the Mustang Beta, but it still has the longevity of like it doesn't really explore. It's more of like kind of a getting around. And then you have the Scout, which is more of that, like it's got the big
it's straight touring
stuff like that.
Is what that is, the Rambler.
Yeah. So
I would say the one thing I'd love to see from this, and this is something that they they haven't particularly done. It'd be kind of like what the Raft has, where instead of the floor of the boxes dropping down, there's like a little magnetized thing on the top that drops down. Because wouldn't it be, think like that Star Wars dropship in Clone Wars Episode 2, it'd bring in like the big AT-AT walkers,
where they
set down and then fly away.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to do that with your boxes with a ship like this. Like you land, you drop them, you turn off the magnetism, whatever, and then you leave, and you have somebody down on an outpost. Like, because that would make this an amazing courier ship for small missions.
I don't say this to trigger Paul, but you guys know SA. SA actually had an idea like that for the Redeemer, but with the Cyclone, where the Cyclone was underneath and you kind of drop off a Cyclone and you could have the people climb into it from the top.
Yeah.
That'd be, but with the sorry, I just brought it up because it's what it's like.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'll say also my thoughts on the thing. I already kind of said it. It's a starter smuggler in my opinion. That's what it's really designed. It's a touring / smuggling ship, and it's designed to be like, I can see a designer sitting down and looking at this and going, what would I want if I was a new player who wanted to go to Pyro? And that sort of like mentality is what designed this ship. Not necessarily because of like combat and violence, but like more of a, I want to go out and just not have to deal with anybody. I just want to go out and
give me the drugs. That's
Yeah.
what you saw.
And you know, have some cargo so you can have some stuff, but also maybe for some missions, have a lot of interior space so you can walk around and do things.
It does have extra hit points, and it does have extra fuel as well. So you can kind of tell that they've, ironically, it's got the big gun on it like the Ares, but it really is a runner like the other variants. As I said, it's this really weird mixed bag. They made it look like an Ares, but it really is more like the Spirit and the Mercury Star on it. So it's this, it is an amalgamation of all the other bigger brothers, so to speak.
Yeah.
And but yeah, you're right. It is really designed for speed and defense.
Yeah.
And the blockade running is where I'd put it.
I think its reputation is going to outlive it a little bit from here. I think it's going to be one of those ships that you'll find people making jokes about how it's ugly for the next 2 years, and most people will have moved on and be like, "No, it's not that bad." Like, I think it's a more general place ship than people give it credit for, because the reaction to its looks are so snap and so knee jerky, but it's actually a pretty solid ship itself. So as time goes, that initial reaction will kind of mellow out, I think.
Yeah. And that's a lot of that's gonna happen too with 4.0 coming in now. There's so many component changes coming. Like now you guys will see it in the next couple of days. When you actually start playing, you'll realize just how much components change ships now. It is astronomically different from anything you've ever seen. The game is going to where they talked about it like all those years ago, and it's just so refreshing. Like you can get in a Drake. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, so did you notice when you get like in a Drake ship, sometimes you can't turn everything on, but you get in like an Origin ship and you can just turn everything on, like leave all the lights on, or like there's a lot more power distribution in a Drake ship compared to an Origin, because they use.
I go on Drake ships.
No. I'm just. I try them all, right? So obviously, I was trying to look for differences, and it was just really obvious. Having higher levels of components actually really does make a difference now. You can turn more stuff on. You can go at different speeds. Like there's, you've got to pick and choose now, or you got to pay through the teeth to get those higher level components.
Yeah. It's good. It's good stuff.
Let's move on from that to kind of less controversial and probably more quick responses. Starting with you, Tomato, the F7, I'm going to lump these together, so feel free to kind of give me your pitches for them. The F7C Mark II Tracker and Ghost. Your thoughts on those?
I don't think I've ever even seen the Mark IIs of those ships. Like, that's how little I've cared for them.
They haven't. No one really
disgusting.
CIG dropped them into 4.0 build at one point instead of before it even went into 3.2, 4.3. So I think a lot of people were just like, what? Like, I think most people were just like, okay.
There are two ships that aren't really used, that are very inconsequential to most people, that are being updated to their newer versions. I mean, not updated, but like, there's not much to say.
Yeah, they'll come around again when they actually get their gameplay. Like, the tracker is going to be really interesting. It's got a camera on the nose, and all the military people I've talked to say it's a camera, not a sensor. So you can kind of do that reconnaissance and possibly send live seeds. You know, those globes. Like, you kind of see it in Squadron at one point, like where he's talking to the guys out there. If you can send a live feed back to the command and control ship, that would be mad. They've got the tech for it, so why wouldn't they use it? And then obviously, like, the scanning ability is way bigger on a tracker, so the tracker can also help kind of tell people what's coming, like, oh, that attack's this far away and stuff like that. And then the opposite side of that is the stealth, because the stealth can be out further than the other Hornets, being undetected, and it's kind of feeding information back to the tracker. So between all the Hornets, you have all these points kind of covered. That's an information and espionage network, and I just don't think the game's there yet. Obviously, we just don't have the gameplay.
There's gonna be gameplay for them,
exactly.
Not there. I do want to say something, because I can already see it again in chat. This always comes up whenever the Hornets do. The mark of the Hornet, the version numbers of the Hornets, is something that's been planned since I don't know if it's the original
2016.
Yeah, at least 2016. It is not. It's not them choosing to remake a ship instead of updating it. These are ships that have existed in fiction in the store permanently since at least 2016, and they were added because the military, during the time of Squadron 42, updates the ships. You could probably tell this better than I can. But the idea of these ships has always existed. This is not a sign that every ship is going to start to get its own Mark II, that they're going to start to leave other ships behind. These ships have existed for like the majority of the project.
The problem is
you
that
tell him, Paul. You tell him.
The problem of the whole thing is that the reason why we have this panic is because the Hornet Mark II came out around the same time as the Zeus Mark II.
Yeah,
and so they just assuming that Mark II is what's going to happen, and it's like the Zeus Mark II is called the Mark II because the original Zeus is like the Model T of spaceships.
It's not even existent.
It doesn't even. We never even had it. It was a picture that was used in 2012, like that they knocked together with like in Maya, whatever many years ago, basic 3D concept, and they took that and involved it. I think that's why people freaked out about it. But
they have actually said though after release they may update ships and make new Mark variants in the future, and that you'd be able to buy an upgrade to them. They even gave that as an example of, say, they redid the Constellation series.
But if that they do that, that's a different problem than what we're seeing here.
Yeah, it is.
And that's also like they need to make sure that they're keeping the other ships up to date. That's something that I would absolutely say with the Mark I Hornets. Like they are different ships and they should be kept up to date rather than a Mark II coming and taking all the effort and then like a Mark I not getting any updates as the game goes on.
Yeah.
That'd be a problem.
Execute your thoughts on the Hornets. Like I said, I'm pretty sure this is gonna be pretty quick.
Yeah, it is pretty quick. I think the only one for me, and it's such a small thing, and they could kind of add it later because obviously you can see they're built modularly, but I don't like the engine on the Ghost. That's the only thing I don't like because it's meant to have a specific exhaust, and the whole engine was different. But all they kind of really did was added these exhaust pipes to the top, and they added fins. Now in a stealth craft, that actually creates disturbances. And Piggles brought this up when he was on stream, by the way, because you guys don't know his job, but like trust me, he knows what he's talking about when it comes to this shit. He can't talk about his job because of his job.
Yeah,
that should tell you everything you need to know. But the fins would actually make it less stealthy. So they added fins, and they need to do the engine and remove the fins, basically.
Yeah.
But I like the look of them. They kind of work. The skin's a bit cheap, because the tracker was a blue-green thing, and it also meant to have this thing on the bottom, but they moved it from the bottom, and I think that's what the camera is. They put the camera on the nose now, where the camera was on the bottom. I don't even remember. It had that L-shaped thing, and that's now on the nose, which is kind of weird because now it doesn't go 360. So I guess you can only aim it forward and kind of up and down now.
It's more built into the hull now.
Yeah. But just again, I guess we'll get skins for them, so it really doesn't matter. It's just a skin. But the actual engine on the Ghost is my biggest issue. And
my thoughts of them is that they're ships that they built. Like the problem is that they're like the Ghost did have its time to shine, and it will have its time to shine again, but it needs stealth gameplay to be better. And the tracker will have its time to shine when they have scanning gameplay. And guess what? Stealth and scanning are the same gameplay on either side of the same gameplay. And we know that they've been working on it since like March. It's probably coming in like the first or second quarter of next year. They're coming in, yeah. And there's been multiple things about this. So this is one of those things where CIG built the ship. It's done, but it's sort of already in game. So they're just like, here you go. And then
if you actually get in the Terrapin, and get in the seat, it actually now has like scanning functionality.
Yeah.
And you can kind of like zoom in and scan specific ships and stuff. Yeah. So there's definitely stuff coming.
Yeah, well, I know Tomato does this the same as I do in terms of like reading through the monthly reports. So we've been seeing them talk about
don't read, mate. What are you talking about?
They listen to our dulcet tones reading.
No, they go to sleep to the pair of you like I do. That's exactly what I do. I either put you or Space Tomato on reading patch notes. So I'm out like a light. It is brilliant.
I've done that plenty.
He's got the sexiest voice. The pair of you just like, oh.
Well, I know Tomato and Honey put on the lore when they're like driving.
Dude, so. How many times there was like a good month period where we listened to your the full history
Complete
of Star
history?
There are four episodes right now.
Yeah,
we listened to all 4 of those episodes like at least 5 times each during this month. It was so funny.
The fifth episode is almost done, by the way. It's my editor Uri is finishing it up, and it'll be out before the end of the month. And my plan is to take all of those episodes and put them into one section, so one long video called "The Golden Age of Exploration."
Yeah.
And
chapter 1.
Yeah, chapter 1, and so it's like a 2.5 hour video, so you can just watch the whole thing from start to go instead of having to do that. So, but yeah, I just the Hornets are Hornets. I mean, they're fine. They're being put in for future use, and they'll eventually be useful. If you are really into Hornets, maybe get them. But like if you're like an aficionado, but
I think the in front of the stance would be buy them in game.
Yeah, I think that's generally speaking. Yeah,
and I just forget about them for now.
I'll also let's go back a little bit and just real quick execute. Would you suggest buying other than the obvious? It's going to be the LTI token. Would you suggest buying the Intrepid?
Only if you're a new person or you know someone you want to get into the game, or the LTI token, as you put it. Yeah.
Tomato.
If you're looking for a small ship, and I think everybody should have one, it's a solid choice.
Okay. I think obviously
what you're saying is
you're saying
it's the size of the ship, not the motion of the ocean. Is that what I'm hearing?
It's a chunky ship. Well, if it's a big ship for a small ship, like
it is fairly large. But I'm trying to think of like, I have a 135C. That is my small ship of choice. I think everybody should have one. Super easy to get around. You can land it in a lot of other larger ships. Like it's just nice to have something like that for when you don't want to risk any of your other ships that are like outfitted. Mine is the 135C, but the thing that's missing is another room. Like the 135C has some cargo, yes. That cargo can't be interacted with from the inside. It's extra cargo. It only has a bed. It doesn't have an extra room, so there's not really like a kitchen and stuff. Like this ship isn't that much bigger. It's like the size of a 300i or so, but it comes with a decent amount of stuff to if you do end up getting separated from your normal gameplay or something. Like this has the facilities. And again, I think everybody should have a small ship of choice. Maybe it's the Avenger or something, but I think this could work for some
players. There's a few there. It depends on your gameplay too. Like that's the other thing. Like a lot of people are hating on this and saying this ship is better, this ship is better than that. But like everyone's got personal taste. Are you more into combat? Are you more into cargo? Do you like a little bit of everything? You know, you can't pick that for other people. I think that's the thing I'm really enjoying is we're now starting to have to pick. Like before, it was really obvious choices. Now it's like, ooh, being sport for choice is a good thing.
Yeah, I've always said we need more NPC ships, more ships that you just see flying around rather than just a handful of some stuff. And that's something that is basic design that you would see everywhere. The sedan of Star Citizen, but there are 17,000 sedans that exist in the universe. So having those different versions of the same ship work, as long as they have some flavor. And it was probably some new guys, new designers first ship, or
I think so.
So
I think it was an early,
which is great.
Can I tangent for like 30 seconds with you, Paul? Because I just got something in my head I want to ask.
Okay, we're already well over time a little bit, but let's go.
I'll make it as quick as I can. So if we had an Avenger starter, as in because the Penguin is an advanced starter, which engines would you prefer, the Redeemer or the Reclaimer engines on an Aegis starter, aka Aurora from Aegis?
Reclaimer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I was just curious. I was curious because I thought it might be able to state your lore problem with the Redeemer.
Well, my lore problem with the Redeemer is that the engines don't make any sense. Not because they're bad, but because CIG doesn't actually explain why. In lore, they're supposed to be these vector lock engines is what they're called. They're supposed to have some special snowflake thing that lets them be better at being an engine, and which is cool. But then they don't do that at all. Like there's no advantage to this style engine. It's just there, and it's like cool. Can it actually have a reason other than you think it's cool? Can you get like hover better or something? I don't know. Like some little detail.
We need to get the writing team on it. We need to get the writing team on it.
It's not the writing team. It's more the gameplay team needs to make that ship actually have a purpose And because it seems like they just stare at it going, what do we do with you constantly, rather than, fixing the problem. So
they've got other problems now. Like, how are you going to get the size 2 shields out of the ship to repair them now?
yeah,
Because you got to go down that tiny little hole. The ladder is the only way out.
All right. Let's move on to the
Anyway,
to the next set of ships, or the next ship, the Star Lancer. Tomato, your thoughts, Star Lancer?
I'll let you go first, Tomato, because you know what I'm going to do. So
yeah, I know Execute's got plenty to say on this one. I've got feelings about this because it is such a similarity to the Galaxy, and I know there's a lot of, like you said, that the Intrepid was going to be the controversial one, man. I know there's a lot of feelings about the Galaxy versus the Star Lancer, but I will say the build makes sense to me. I'm gonna let you have the max Execute, because I know you got it, it's your, you're the one who explained it to me. The tack actually makes a lot of sense to me too. I feel like the tack is, I wasn't interested in it at first, but now it's the most interesting to me because it feels so much like almost a small Carrack, like a perfect.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like 4 to 6 person, let's just go have some fun. Like, how many groups do content online that people watch, or how many people who are like watching this game have like 3 friends or maybe 4 friends, or a group of 6 to 8 people that sometimes some people are online that would absolutely love to just take a Star Lancer tack, be able to defend yourself, be able to transport whatever you need, be able to sleep and log off, to respawn, to do all these things and not be held down by any one specific type of gameplay that ship is made to be. It's a generalized ship sold in with a combat tag. I really like, obviously it has bigger turrets, but I think mainly that just means that you can defend yourself better. So I think that the tack is in a really good place to be a good party ship, an expedition, a raid runner, a dungeon runner. The build is cool because it has base building, but I don't really know what all that entails. The max felt like it was supposed to be the generalized one, but I think the tack is a little bit better fitting for that, and the max also has problems that Execute is now going to fill you in on.
I was just going to say, if you could put other snubs in it, that'd be kind of cool, actually. Like, as long as the Merlin and the Archimedes fit in it, it would actually give it a lot more versatility than I originally. I just assume it doesn't fit, though, because of that image. The Merlin and the Archimedes are a lot longer.
Yeah, it fits the, but it is supposed to be fitting the
Fury.
The Fury, yeah.
So, the Star Lancer Max should have just been called the Star Lancer.
Yeah.
It doesn't do maximum cargo. It does bugger stuff all cargo. You've got a Caterpillar that for only like $30 more basically does double the cargo. You've got the Hercules Ironclads as you go up another $100 that literally double and triple it. It just, you've even got the whole B and the whole A that are, well, the whole B is a little smaller than that, but you get my point, right? Like, for the money, you can get multiple other ships that would do more than it does. It's literally the size of a Caterpillar or larger, the same pad size. Like, it's the same. It shares the same pad size as a Carrack, yet most of that ship, it's almost like a trapezoid from the side.
Mm-hmm.
The living quarters deck is bigger than the cargo deck. That makes no sense. They've got 2 elevators in it. If they merged those elevators, they could have allowed you to take cargo up to the top floor and not have double beds for all these living quarters. Shrink the living quarters and allow you to put cargo upstairs. It would have maximized the cargo, and the name would have made sense. Then I go to the tack. The tack is just so damn big. When I talk to a lot of the military guys, it just doesn't make sense. You'd take 2 Redeemers because they're also long-ranged. So its role doesn't really. They feel very tacked on, and when I talked to John Crow and Ben Curtis, they said it was built around the build, and that's very obvious because it works for the build. It just doesn't work for the other 2 variants, and I think it's a bit disingenuous to call it a max. I think they should just call it the Star Lancer.
I can agree with that. I think that's a good call. It's kind of like if you were to think of like the C1 Spirit as being a max compared to the other 2, when it really the C1 Spirit just kind of like feels like the default Spirit, and then the other 2 are specialized.
I think I would just use the Freelance and the Freelancer Max. That makes so much more sense. And I don't even think you need to make it wider or anything like that. As I said, like I just think give up some of those living quarters upstairs and put cargo upstairs. And I'm pretty sure at some point they probably played with that idea and then threw it out because the elevator would obviously take up some of the space. But again, we've seen some really cool small little elevators like in the Polaris. Why didn't they have ones like that? You know, and why is there 3 elevators within 20 meters and 2 of them don't even exit the ship? You know, just little weird choices. I don't know. Again, as I said, it feels like it was made for the build, and the tack kind of makes a lot more sense. But the Max just does not work for me. And the fact that they gave it the name the Max and not normal Star Lancer, and didn't make the ship physically wider, I find that really disingenuous.
Okay.
It's just my 2 cents.
You think it's your issue's mostly around the naming? Then there's some small stuff around that.
Yeah. You could just change the name, and I wouldn't have a problem.
Yeah, if I agree with that completely. I mean, the Star Lancer feels like a very good general ship, and I say that the TAC feels like the general purpose one because it has everything you need with just better combat. But if they made the Star Lancer Max just a regular Star Lancer, then I would agree with that. That just feels like the starter version. It's like the Freelancer to the Freelancer Max. It's like the Reliant to the Reliant. Actually, they all have names, huh? The Reliance.
Yeah,
I mean they have this weird way of doing that where some variants.
They could have just called it the Star Lancer Cargo or the Star Lancer CRGO.
Just call it the Star Lancer.
Well, yeah,
that's all it needed to be. Because the default Freelancer has cargo. Just call it the Star Lancer. That's all it ever needed to be. It just at some point someone's gone, oh, we've got to put Max on it because it's got cargo, and no, it didn't need that.
Yeah,
it just fits with the naming convention.
Yeah, that's what it is. Is it fits with the misnaming convention, and someone said this is a huge amount because it's still like 250 SCU of cargo. It's a fucking massive amount of cargo for a ship of its size. It's like close to the Caterpillar, and so that's why they were trying to go for it. I could see that the conversation happening in my head. I get the idea that it's also the context is also important. So
can I just address what's going on in chat? People are arguing that it's $250. Yeah, it's $250 right now, but that's the war bond price. It's normally $280. That's the special discounted CCU. The war bond price is $280. That's going to go up to about $300, and then when it actually releases, it'll go up again. Yeah. So I think I'm being generous when I say it's $300, right? It's going to be probably around $300, so it's only $30 between that and the Caterpillar. And I just use the Caterpillar because that's the closest priced one. But you've got Galaxy, you've got like for very little money, like I'm talking less, $100 more. There's like 3 other options that double the cargo.
Yeah.
There's also, I think naming it the Max implies that there's a need for that space that's used for cargo. Otherwise, what would that space be used for if it wasn't used for cargo? Max implies that they sacrificed some other part of the game for cargo, and maybe they did, but
it's clear that this if we ever get an interview, if they ever do a
Q&A,
a jump point interview with like the process of making the Star Lancer, I wouldn't be surprised if the BLD was the Star Lancer. That's
it is. I talked to Ben Curtis, and that's one of the questions I asked Ben and John, and they literally said the build was the first one, and then the other 2 came later. And they also implied that there are other variants possibly coming.
Yeah. So the reason why that what that space is going to be used for is it's used for the drone. That's what it is. It like the reason why they call it the Max is because they pulled the drones out and they were like, wow, you can put like
it's got more cargo.
It got more cargo. So this must be the. So I think it would have been better if they called the Star Lancer build just the Star Lancer, and then called this the Max, and then called the TAC the TAC. I think that would also make sense because that's like that's what it was designed to do. So, anyways, I hear you, X, but I love the Star Lancer. I love everything about it.
I haven't even gone into the look of it, man. I'm just talking pure functionality. The look of it, I love the look of it.
Yeah.
It's just got function problems. And you know what I'm like. I've got to look at it, different hats, so to speak. And yeah, I do like the look of it. I love how it looks older than other MIST ships. Like it's got the wires on the outside. It's got that weird black cap thing on its hat and a big thing under its chin. And the doors are different colors. It's got some really nice skins on it as well. I really like the CitizenCon skin. That thing is going to be sought after down the line, I reckon. It's a great looking ship, but that's not what I'm.
You're looking at the functionality,
Yeah, again, if they just changed the name, I could just let a lot of it go. I really could.
It's
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's like it's the closest they've come to Serenity in Star Citizen to me so far. I
True.
really
Yeah.
love the interior.
Both in functionality and
Mm.
in looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that one. You're right.
As someone's going to bring it up because whenever this was brought up, somebody in chat brought up that the Carrack is literally the size of the Serenity and has the same sort of aesthetics. And it's like, yeah, but
that same hangover too of the cockpit.
But like I would call the Carrack more similar to the ship from, because it was really built off of the ship from Prometheus. And this is more like taking design cues from the Serenity from Firefly. So, but I will say that the Star Lancer Max is not my favorite of the Star Lancers. It's the TAC. And I would argue with any military person who says that it doesn't make a lot of sense, it's a C-130. It's what it is. It's a C-130, and CIG said, but we can be cool and add more stuff. That's all it is.
Wait, I thought it was AC-130. Is it just C-130?
It's AC-130. You're right. AC-130.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh boy.
The thing is, I think a C-130 is an actual civilian cargo ship, and then the reason why they put A on the front of it is because it's an attack civilian cargo ship. It's basically
like
plane.
Anvil.
Yeah, effectively the AC line of planes that exist in America are just civilian designed, like cargo designed planes that are used for moving cargo within the military, that they're just said, but if we put a big gun on it, what could we do with this? So like, the original AC-130 Spooky, and then there's there's like 2 or 3 different variants that are basically
we have that flying around here, man. We live really close to a big Air Force base, and they're just like constantly looks like they're floating in the sky because they're so big.
Can I ruin it for you just a little bit? Like what could have been?
Sure.
When we were talking to Ben and John, we brought up the whole thing about the mothership for the Fury, and how we always wanted them to be turrets, and they said, yeah, one of the devs actually had that idea as well, and they tried to put Furies on the TAC as turrets, but there just wasn't enough space. And I said, if you pulled that off, it would have been the most popular ship you ever had, and you would have sold a shit ton.
Yeah.
I somehow get the feeling they'll eventually make a bigger ship, and it probably will do that, because they will just sell a heap of that thing. If you can have turrets that just detach, so Furies just fly off as turrets, absolutely mad. And they were disappointed they couldn't do it. But the
glitches that would create would be just phenomenal to watch.
The chat is the. Actually, Paul, you obviously don't know your military lore. This goes, yes, you're right. It's not civilian. It's cargo. The C stands for cargo. It was just me speaking. All right.
It stands for citizen.
Yeah. It is a cargo thing. The reason why I say civilian is because it doesn't have any guns, like typically those things.
I can't unsee Captain Tomato now. Thank you, random citizen. You need to do that for Halloween, Captain Tomato.
But the reason
only
why
you can prevent space asphyxiation.
Yes.
The only reason I like the TAC is because it fills in a role in both in the fiction and I think in the game that really does well. And I think Tomato hit it perfectly, which was the 3 to 4 people, your buddies hanging out, going to do an adventure. You're going to go do some space adventures with a couple of friends. The TAC is that sort of ship. And then if you get a bunch more people, I've fallen down the Daisy rabbit hole on YouTube again. So I've been watching a bunch of people doing stories
JLK.
of them playing. Yeah, JLK. I resubscribed to JLK and those crew, and there's story side and like all of those stories like that and like Rust and all these other kind of games. They have the same thing where it's like 3 or 4 people who hang out.
Content.
There's 3 or 4 people who hang out together, and then as the video goes on, they start collecting more of their friends, and so it starts off with 3 people who are like, we're doing well, and then by the end it's like a 17 people going off and fighting the most epic battles you can imagine. And
that's going to happen to us at one point, isn't it? I just realized that now. You've said that, but once the game gets to a certain point, we'll do that.
That's TAC. That's what the TAC is. is. The TAC is a couple of your friends hanging out doing something, and then you have to go raid a base, and now you've got 15 more people who you can throw into the ship to help raid it. Help raid a bunker or something like that. It seems purpose built for Star Citizen as a game.
Yeah.
We should actually try that with the Polaris once it gets to live. We should get all the Infrunners and a whole bunch of our content creator friends and just do like a massive. That could be. So if we could pull as many content creators as possible and just have this massive Polaris on Polaris battles, it could be gnarly if we do that right.
The Star Lancer feels like the same energy the Zeus has, but bigger. It is a general purpose. Let's get together and do some fun stuff. And even the Zeus is almost a little outside of that because each one of them is a little specialized. Maybe a better comparison would be like the Constellation, but bigger.
Yeah.
And even the Constellation, I think, is missing some of that.
The Connie was the original version of this idea of the Star Citizen as a game, the ship. But then the game is so changed that it's become less of a thing. So
yeah.
I'm just thinking maybe they didn't call it the max because of the cargo. Maybe they called it the maximum because of all the double beds and just how much action the crew get up to.
All right, moving on. Moving on. All I'll say is I think that the TAC is where it's at. I think that's really the vibe, and the max is sort of a nice cargo in between. Is what it is.
Max is like, let's make another variant.
Yeah, let's make another variant. People want it, and I think it fits in a nice role because we don't have a lot of cargo ships that are like outside of say the hulls that are small-ish, in that large category that hold a ton of cargo because like it's smaller than the Caterpillar. The Caterpillar is massive, and same with it's got a smaller profile than the Hercules, and the Hercules is massive, but it doesn't quite meet their numbers because those are 300 to 500 SEU. But it does more than anything else below it. There's nothing even close that I can think of outside of the Taurus, and I think the Taurus doesn't do 180 or something like that. It's a very sort of weird range where we just don't have a lot of cargo ships in that range between the 100 and 250 range or 200 and 300 range. There's a couple of them, or it's more 200 to.
It implies though with all the features of the the home stuff and the fuel count and stuff like that, it's implying it's an extreme long range cargo delivery ship.
Yeah.
But I just think it's too niche for it. Is priced properly, I will say that, but I think there's other ships that I would take that have more cargo for that role. It costs a lot more though, like a Banner Matchman or an Ironclad or Hercules, things like that.
All right, let's move on to the last ship, and then we'll move on to because we're kind of already over time. We wanted to be about an hour, and we've got to get through some of this stuff. But
doing that job, aren't we, Space?
Yeah,
we're stuffing up these space laid plans. Yeah,
execute. Love to run things over time.
The Polaris. Thoughts?
I how do I put this? I think there's a lot of things unfinished on that they're clearly trying to get done.
Oh wait,
but
I completely screwed up something. I completely skipped over the best one. But go ahead and do the Polaris, and we'll go back to the best one.
Yeah. But I think it bodes well for the future of other ships.
Okay.
Space doesn't know. Tomato doesn't know what you're talking about.
It's his ship.
Yeah.
It's his ship that we skipped over. I can't believe you forgot it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. For some reason, I was assuming that we did. I just in my head, I was like, no, we're not that stupid. We couldn't possibly have done that.
Oh no, I am that stupid. I am that stupid. Yeah.
You could possibly you might fall dead, just not even considering the Medipin.
So execute. Is anything else? I mean, it's kind of vibing on the Polaris there. What are your thoughts?
As I said, it's just that it bodes. The future bodes well from really big ships. Just all the exterior is absolutely immaculate, and you can tell that that's what they've put a lot of the work into. They've just got to bring the inside up to par. For example, you can't get into the captain's quarters. That alone tells me things are not finished.
Yeah.
Right. So they just didn't quite make it in time. So they put it out, but I guarantee you over the next couple of patches or however long they do it, they will improve things. It doesn't have signage. It doesn't have lots of little things like where the panels are to get into the ship don't work properly. Like you've got to where the ramps are at, there's not any external buttons to press to make things come out. Are they going to do that to the mobiGlas with capital ships? So, you know, is it you just walk up and it detects you and automatically comes down? They don't have the little light circles on the glam like the 600i or the Reclaimer or the 890 Jump. So there's just all these little things that haven't been added. It just needs some spit and polish, and it'll get there. So I'm not worried about that. But what I'm looking at is this is the first kind of more to the new stuff. Like, you know, we had the Reclaimer, we had the 890 Jump. We've now got this, and it's just at a different level. It's at that kind of Zeus level where ships have gone to a new level, and it just bodes well for all the other capitals to come afterwards. Like, I'm interested to see the Idris and the Javelin, because we know they went back and reworked those as well exteriorly. So, yeah,
Nice.
that's my take on it.
Tomato.
I think you make a really good point with some of the polish that we could be seeing with this ship's release. There's a lot of stuff that CIG could do at this point to polish things and make deliveries feel better. I think we're all looking for that, and we see that kind of stuff with the Zeus release, like you said. But with the Polaris, one thing you mentioned there, which really got me, was like the light circles from some of the bigger ships. But we don't have, I think the only ship that does this is the Spirit. It makes sense, is the Spirit. All hail.
Oh yeah.
But having the light that shows where the ramp is going to go down, I think that should be permanent. That should be something that you can see anytime a big ship gets close to the ground, so that anytime you want to release the ramp, you know where it's going to be. And that feels like one of those sort of, oh, we know this is going to be a problem. We thought about this. We're putting extra time and effort into making this a thing, that I would hope to see with the first big capital ship coming in for, outside the 890 and Reclaimer.
Just real quick, the Intrepid does have small ones on its little ones that come down. It does have the little red outline thing. If that's
why does the Intrepid and not?
Because it's Crusader.
Yeah, that's right. You know it. No, I'm proud of my boys. You know, they could put out an ugly ship. At least it can still tell you where its door is going. But anyways, I do think the Polaris has some things that could work better for it. But man, I'm blown away by how much I've enjoyed using that ship. I didn't think I would. I've been talking about it nonstop. Oh, it's a capital ship. Oh, it's going to change the game. Oh, it's going to be so fun. And then I went and actually played it, and I was like, wait a second.
It is.
Space Tomato guy wasn't lying.
Yeah. Well, again, I want to see Morph do an update to it when they kind of really finish it, because he did his architect reviews thing, and I think it's a little bit cut before the horse. Like I was saying with the other buyer's guides and stuff like that, I don't think it's finished. I think in 6 months or whatever, he'll come back and he'll do another one.
Here's the thing. He can come back and do another one, and then he can get more views off of it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's a clever motherfucker. Yeah.
I mean, what do you think? I do lore. A lot of people like, just too early to do lore, Paul. It's like, I just can redo the same videos I've already done.
Brother, people are like, oh my God, how do you cover Star Citizen? I'm like, dude, how do you cover other games? This game releases new information every single week, and they go back on it every other month.
Yeah.
You can just keep covering stuff.
It's easy. But yeah, I will say the Polaris fundamentally points to the direction where Star Citizen is going. It is the ship where you want to see, like, and it's very serendipitous that it also is coming out at the same time as the Starlancer and the Intrepid, because I think those are the three ships that really show you the direction that Star Citizen is trying to go. Is CIG's taking Star Citizen to?
Just gonna grab a drink.
Yeah,
I like it, dude. That's a good one.
It's because the Intrepid is this solo ship. He put his headphones right next to the microphone so we can hear everything. I can hear myself feedback.
Hello.
So it's a solo. It's a solo work. It's got the interior, which is really well done. Like, there are some controversial takes on it, but its design and its purpose is very clear. And it has like all of the gun racks. It has the suit locker. It has all of these things that are set out for it because it's designed around the Star Citizen that they're building for, 4.0, 1.0 Star Citizen. And the Starlancer is the same thing. It's got all of these things. It's got onto it. It's designed around these sorts of features. And the Polaris, while it's not finished, is designed around the gameplay of that. So it's like, all of the stations have a purpose. You feel like everything you do in that ship is actually meaningful. There's no just wasted seats. There is a lot of variety, and like this is a ship you would do when you're going on adventures with a large group of people solo, or not solo, but like alone. You have support here and there, but it can also scale up higher. Like these are, while the Polaris is clearly not done because they said that we want to get us out by this time, and they got it out by that time, but
yeah,
yeah.
Well, they also cut engineering. I can't even imagine what the ship's going to be like once engineering.
Yeah. Like, you got that too, which is going to start happening as well. And it's just in general, that's just like it is the harbinger of the future. I think it's the big harbinger of the future. And if somebody wants to know, okay, what's capital ship gameplay going to be like, the Polaris, like
it is, it's like fighting, or not even just fighting. It's like being in a base. It's like a base that moves, and there's no equivalent to that really that much in this game. Like everything we've had so far in this game, a spaceship can feel like a base, especially something that's a little larger like a Carrack. But they still feel, it doesn't feel like everybody really has that much to do. You got a couple turrets on some of the ships and stuff like that. But with a ship like this, I don't know. There's something that about running around a place that feels almost completely self-sufficient. Med bays, the brigs for holding people. You got weapons areas, vehicle areas, cargo areas,
the cargo,
hangar bay,
the cargo elevator that goes up to the hangar and back down. Like
it all feels like a base effort in a game like a Daisy or a Rust, or somewhere where you can feel comfortable with people, but also go around and kind of take part in the game. Like being able to fly. I've tried it a few different times. First, I have been in the cockpit and the bridge, just sort of overseeing a battle. Second, I was in a Fury that was coming and going from the ship during the battles and changing out ships and stuff, which was pretty cool. Third time I was, I think, a turret gunner. All three of those times, completely different scenarios. All of them equally as fun for different reasons. But best of all was being in the Fury and flying around and feeling like I had this pillow of comfort that was like a central base that I knew I could always return to, that I could fly over if I needed some cover, that I could like strategize with. And going through missions, I think, is going to be just so much more fun with dedicated capital ship scenarios. Hopefully they can bring out capital ships, but even just using our own in these missions is a different way to play this game. It's a lot of fun.
We had so much going on because I went out with Moist, and we essentially went into the safe Stanton, taking out the Indris. We were picking off the engines. Like I was on the big turret and he was flying it, and all his boys were there as well, and we're all talking and communicating. We had fighters going around with us. We took off the engines. I blew off the doors with the really big guns. We all bailed out of the Polaris, boarded in, shot a lot of people. I got injured. They're all trying to get me out. I'm hobbling out as it's being shot by another Polaris about to explode. We bail out, it explodes, and then another Polaris comes along and tries to pick a fight with us. It's just so much different gameplay of all these different types and levels all the way along. It was over like 5-hour period, and we tried to do it again, but we couldn't because it was bugged. But just what we saw there in that one snippet is like, if this is what we've got now, and then you add all these other gameplays, we are so damn spoiled for choice.
Yeah. Last night, me and Loken were running with a fully crewed, and we decided to do the mission where we're taking on the Idris. We arrived at the Idris. We were coordinating our fire, and there were lots of problems, which were just bugs and stuff like that. But like we were firing torpedoes, and the torpedoes were being intercepted. It was just like, God damn it, and but it felt like we were in a slug match. And at one point we decided to go knife fighting and just got right underneath the Idris and was just pounding away at it to try to bring down its shields. We had a fighter come in and try to help us bring it down. And in the middle of us finally taking down the Idris by ripping the engines off of it, like piece at a time to get it to stop moving. That's fun to do. Another Polaris showed up and started shooting at us. Not enough to actually damage us, but just because they just were assholes. And then one of them left their ship and boarded our ship and started killing us. So we we cleared them out, and then we counterboarded them because they left their hangar open. So I dropped the trauma turtle in there, and we started taking over their ship. We killed their entire crew, and then detonated the set the Polaris to detonate. Got back onto the trauma turtle, took off, and watched it explode. And then we took that same thing and boarded the Idris and had a 20-minute firefight with the NPCs who were just deadly accurate and trying to mess us up, where we had to go tensely move through the dimly lit corridors of this messed up Idris to take down individual individual members, eventually managing to take the ship and then figuring out, okay, how do we want to use this? How do we do this?
The boarding gameplay is the best.
And you muted, execute.
Won't see that on any other game either because of the ship internals and the way they all work together. Like, it's just all this stuff we've been talking about for years is starting to
that's what I say.
coalesce.
That's why I say it's like the harbinger of the future of gameplay, because what I just said was all true. It was 2 hours of bug-ridden nightmare at times, but all of those things still happened. And like when maybe hopefully the game improves and we have less bugs and things get better, that sort of experience where you capture a ship like an Idris and go, what do we do with this thing now? And start figuring out how you're going to deal with this new asset you've acquired. Do you strip it for parts? Do you try to repair it and use it yourself? And that sort of thing is insane. And that's one of the reasons why I brought up, DayZ content creators and Rust content creators, is because it felt like one of those episodes, which anybody who's played DayZ knows that typically those episodes are heavily crafted. You don't really get that experience that they get, and they obviously have to spend hundreds of hours of gameplay to actually get those sorts of really neat things to be able to string these stories together. What was
that banana guy that made a video like that? And it's like
Ed
Bananas. Like he did like 1.5 million views, and he scripted that. But this wasn't scripted, so like I can only imagine it's going to happen more and more going forward.
Yeah, and that's the key. I think that's the thing about the Polaris. Like everything I've said is not really talked about the ship, because the ship is what everyone wants it to be. And I do think that a lot of people say it's a little plain. I'm hoping that beyond CIG actually, adding more stuff to it, I'm hoping that a lot of that plainness is similar to like the Zeus, where like CIG is going to start making things a little bit more plain so that we can just add our own touches to the ships. Because I'm tired of getting a used ship that's dirty that has other people's shit in it. That's it. All right. Now we get to talk about Tomato's ship, the ship that Tomato has been asking about for literally 3 years. The Trauma Turtle, the Terrapin Medic,
Trauma Turtle Medipin.
Space Tomato, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, dude, this is it's a great thing to see all rejoice. It's pretty nice that we are finally seeing this. I mean, so many people. Right. I just want to take a moment and think back, everybody, to the amount of people who have joined us on this fight and contributed to this effort, this need. This was a grassroots effort, and it started from the absolute most blue collar of us all the way up to the elites of microtech.
Is his head growing? Is it just me? The head's growing? Turning into a tomato head? Yeah.
And I think everybody needs to take a bow at this. No, I'm seriously, it's really nice to see this variant come in, because the Terrapin was like a very obvious choice for a search and rescue vehicle in harsh conditions. And I hope that...
I mean, they thought that because they put it in lore.
Yeah.
True. That's true. I hope that this kind of a move shows that they're both doubling down on harsh atmospheres and doubling down on harsh medical gameplay. But I haven't even seen this ship in game yet, but I'm really, really pleased that they decided to make this.
You'll be shockingly surprised. It looks like a Terrapin.
Really?
It looks like a Terrapin, and then they took a lot of the assets that they made for the
it had a Renault. Yeah.
And then put it in there.
They took all of the things they made for what? For the Pisces?
The Pisces medical.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No,
a lot of that stuff has made it in.
Armored ambulance.
Yeah.
tier 2 bed is obviously really cool. It puts it in a unique spot. But I'm just kind of wondering how it works with the single pilot. And they have added a jump seat now, so I think it kind of slightly implies that you can have a second person in there. So it's lost that long range ability of the default Terrapin. But if now that they're kind of showing that a second, because there wasn't a jump seat, but they added one recently. It's a fold down one, almost like what you see on the
it's literally
the color's black.
It's literally the same one that's on the Pisces. The Pisces.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's literally the same jump seat.
Yeah. So because I was thinking they needed a drone. I was like, how the hell are you going to pick someone up in a combat scenario? Well, now the pilot lands, the doctor or nurse runs out and grabs them and brings them back in. So that's okay now. But I would have liked to have seen a Shepherd drone on it personally, because again, I can't justify it at a $220 price point. So I'm starting to think it might get the Antares treatment and be cheaper than the default Scorpius. Well, at least I'm hoping, because that Terrapin, if you bring it up against other ships in its price point, the Vulcan is $20 cheaper and the Terrapin's half the size.
Yeah.
It just don't make no sense.
I think it's neat. I think it has a good purpose for it. And there's some people who said like, well, the medical doesn't really work very well. And it's like, there's the theme of this year is a lot, especially for IAE, is like they're building for the future. They weren't building these ships for gameplay now. They're building these ships for gameplay that's going to happen. And the changes of respawn beds to everything can respawn at tier 3, even tier 3s, giving this a tier 2 is very intentional. Not a tier 1, so it's not the best you can get, but better than the tier 3s that you can get on the
we'll have bigger range
ships.
in the Cutlass though, won't it?
Yeah.
So the Cutlass Red will have more beds but shorter range. This will have, again, in a combat environment, that makes a lot of sense. So you can kind of go more into danger.
Yeah.
And it'll be able to pull you back out.
Yeah. And it's good use of assets, especially a ship that they're obviously updating for, scanning and stuff like that. They're trying to look, they already were looking at it because we got to update this for the new scanning gameplay. How are we going to improve this? Oh, well, I'm looking forward to the other lore variant of the Terrapin, which is the dropship variant.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Where they,
2 doors.
Yeah, so you have 6 people, 6 jump seats where you can put 6 people in. Just take some of the seats from the Valkyrie, remove everything else from there, and put the 6 in those jump seats in there, so you can pop out.
That'd be interesting.
It'd be good if they were like the heavy armor drop seats too.
Yeah.
Any whatever drop seat they do next, drop ship, I want them to do something like from the Edge of Tomorrow movie.
Yeah, I love that. They drop out the bottom. That's kind of what the drop seats in the
dropship
Reclaimer, the Redeemer, not the Redeemer. Too many R's. The Retaliator. The Retaliator dropships a module. It literally drops straight down. It's like
really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I'd like a dedicated version though. So
the TAC does that as well now. If you think about it, the TAC.
Oh yeah, because that's it has that too.
Oh, it's like an elevator, right?
Yeah, that's just why the TAC is superior. I never really finished off my thoughts on the TAC, other than that the TAC is a civilian. In lore, it makes sense because it's a militia gunship, is what it is. It's designed for long range exploration, long range patrols, but also with firepower and amenities.
Dude, I love that this game is so detailed that you can tell the difference between a combat ship that's civilian made versus a military ship.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Where like things like where all of the civilian the militia ships are all designed for like amenities and like life on board ship, and all of the military ships are just like, you get what we give you.
Yeah. Walk down this hallway. Don't enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. We've way over time. But
we have one more.
Which that are actually coming out, or the ones that are speculative coming out? Because we could talk about those.
Yeah, that's
okay. So I do want to talk about. I'll leave the big one for later, and I'll start with you on this one. Execute is your last one to talk about this one. The Mirai Guardian. Do you think it's coming out?
Right. So in the first video that came out last year, that was the combat variant. The one that's in the blue silhouette video, I'm pretty sure it's the racing variant, because we also know in the files that there's a racing variant. Okay. So I think we're getting 2 variants, and I think it's getting the Santoki Eye and mold treatment, and coming as the 4.0 patch in December.
Okay. And so you think we are going to get it?
Yes. Okay. Just not until December.
Tomato.
Yeah, I think the Guardian, along with maybe one other ship, are going to be the straight to flyable 4.0 ships. So I'm also not thinking it's an IAE. I think it's a December release.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've done that with a lot of the alien type ships, haven't they? You know, Santoki and a few others.
It'd be interesting to see where it goes because I don't know where. Like I have no firm of reference for when the Guardian comes out because like I have no idea if the Guardian is done or not. Like because they just sort of dropped the Intrepid as well. Like, just here you go. So I don't know.
They said the Guardian's coming out before end of year, didn't they? At CitizenCon?
I think they did.
Yes.
So yeah,
yes.
4.0 treatment makes sense.
Yeah.
If it's not AIE, it has to be 4.0.
Yeah, it's the only other one.
There's no room for it.
The new silhouette, if that is what we saw in whatever ship that is, I don't know what it might be. If it is the Guardian, cool. It looks so cool.
Yeah.
It looks like what I would fly if I was a Sith. And,
what do you mean if you were a Sith?
If.
What do you mean if? If. We know your secret. No, just kidding.
Don't deal in absolutes, Execute.
Oh, I always deal in absolutes. I would definitely be a Sith. I would 100%. And I know a lot of people say that's evil, but evil's always more fun.
All right. So now we get to the fun one. The one that I have been somewhat calling or talking about, not calling. I've been talking about this thing for a while, and I don't think it's fully, it's fully like what I thought it was going to be, but it does sort of make sense with everything that we've seen in context, which is the Anvil Paladin. So for those of you who don't know, I'll give the briefest rundown.
Yeah, go
it's
for it.
described. Basically, it's described in the files as a gunship. So
you also need to point out that this is apparently taken from the convention hall. So you know the little plates they have.
Yeah,
that's where it's taken from.
Like a
this
small
description is
javelin.
about. Let him read it first.
Yeah, I'll pull it up so we can read it so I can tell you what it actually says specifically. The full description is.
I'll paste it in our chat.
Yeah,
so you can see.
It's a gunship designed by Anvil Aerospace. The Paladin is an intimidating frontline fight that makes a bold impact wherever it is available. It arrives in battle. Whether it's executing a dangerous operation or leading the charge against overwhelming odds, with its powerful array of turreted weapons and ordnance, the Paladin is ready to ride to the rescue.
Okay, lamos.
Yeah. So it's from my reading, it is a replacement for the Redeemer. It's not because the problem is a gunship is the Redeemer is a gunship, but so is the Hammerhead and the Perseus. They're all gunships. So like, is this a gunship as in a helicopter gunship or a gunship as in like a gunboat from like the 20th century? That's the question, is where it comes from. So in my mind, the only one that we don't really have the many in the size range is the gunship of the helicopter variant. So if the Redeemer is the hind of Star Citizen, this is going to be like the Apache of Star Citizen in my guess. So
I do wonder. Go ahead.
Go. I was gonna say, well, that's my hope, but I don't think that's what it is.
Okay.
I think it's Corvette sized.
Okay.
I think it's like a Polaris size, because, and the one word I can't get over is array.
Yeah,
right?
array.
And
multiple.
and that to me implies like 3 to 4, right? That are all in a line. And the only ship that's kind of like in a line like that is the Javelin. Mm-hmm. Now you wouldn't want it directly to compete with the Javelin because it's too, that big. So the only ship that's above a Carrack is the Polaris. So it's either Idris or Polaris size, which I don't think it's going to be Idris. I think it would be Corvette sized.
Yeah, but that also implies it's a capital ship. Now, for those of you who don't know, we've known that CIG had been planning on releasing a big Anvil ship since 2021 or 2022, whenever Invictus first happened.
It's been the IAE guess every year for the last 2 or 3 years.
Because in Invictus, there was an audio line in the hall, and CIG is not like, they slip up on things. This was not a slip up because this was a direct lore reference. And I caught on to it because I'm my brain is broken, and this is the sort of thing I pick up on.
A little more crazy.
Yeah. Well, they mentioned that Anvil was working with the UAE Navy on Killian for the next generation of, Navy ships. And my thought is, why was Anvil on Killian? Anvil makes most of its ships on Terra. And the only reason to be on Killian is because Killian is where they have the sky docks.
Brain rot.
Yes, I know. Where the sky docks are where all of the Bengals and the Retribution and the Javelins and that's where most of those big capital ships are built. So why the hell would they be making an announcement over loudspeakers about specifically mentioning Killian in terms of this? The only ship that Anvil made that was built in Killian was the Carrack, because it's a large ship. So whatever this announcement was, because it was definitely intentional, it wasn't sort of like one of those off things. It was like definitely a thing, is that they wanted to do a large ship. And I think what happened was between 2021 and today, they were like, we have so many big ships in the backlog we have to get through. Let's knock a couple of these out before we start trying to release this. So
I have to put on my speculation out because I've just realized something. I heard rumors, right, that it's a variant of a known ship. So that means Carrack or Liberator. Now, we also know the website had changes to the Carrack. You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
What if it's a Carrack variant that's just covered in turrets?
Possibly.
That'd be boring.
I want something new. Well,
yeah.
The other thing was that I just stumbled upon is that again, CIG writes the lore for a reason. Whenever I say something like why when understanding the lore will help you understand the game, is because CIG doesn't come up with the lore and then try to make gameplay that fits the lore. They come up with gameplay and then they go to the writers and say, justify our choices. And so then the writers have to write in and justify it. And they go into in-depth sort of thought processes of how they can do that. And one of the things that came up around that same time was the history of Case Aerospace. And Case Aerospace, which is the progenitor to Anvil, Leonard Case, the person who was designed the Hurricane, was tasked by the Mezzers after the Second Devaran War to build a Corvette, because the Idris was originally supposed to be the new Corvette that was to become a patrol ship of the UAE after the First Devaran War, and then it got Manchestered and became a frigate. So they still needed a Corvette for that same role, so they turned to this up-and-coming, spaceship manufacturer, talented designer, Leonard Case, who actually worked with RSI before this, to build a Corvette. And then he died before that ship was completed, and then the contract fell through. So when J. Harris Arnold purchased all of the rights to all of Case's stuff so he could make the Hurricane and a bunch of other things, there's probably stuffed somewhere in that big pile of designs that he purchased a Corvette. And I mean,
so I just want to add to this, because you've just given me more information. When we talked to John Crew and Ben Curtis, they said the Ironclad was a Corvette, even though technically it's the wrong size class. So that would mean to them the Carrack is a Corvette. Again, made in Killian, a variant of the Carrack. The Carrack was made in Killian. Like, it's all adding up to me all of a sudden.
Also, and FN80's saying, but but they put that audio before the announcement of the Liberator. It has been in the same hall every year since. They have not removed that audio, and they have removed other audios since then. It was intentionally left in the files. So this is not something that's like, oh, well, maybe it was supposed to be. No, it was very intentional. There's a method to my madness, and I'm not saying this.
Yeah, dude, that must have been a fun moment in your life.
there's no. I'm not saying that the Paladin is this mythical Corvette ship that I think that Anvil is going to build at some point. I'm saying it has the potential to be, but the more I'm reading about it, the more I'm torn between a sort of 100 to 120 meter, so it should make it more like a Perseus or a Hammerhead compared to the other ones. So
the real question.
Go ahead, Tomato.
We all know it's going to be a concept.
Yes, 100%.
Yes,
so
agreed.
How
100%.
long?
Well, that's because that description that I just read off was pulled in the files. But there's actually a missing spot on the floor of Anvil with a missing concept. So we know there's going to be an Anvil concept no matter what it is. So
yeah.
So how long?
About this long? About this long?
About Trevidi.
Need a banana for scale, but yeah, it's about this long. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I'll tell you right now, it's beyond probably beyond 4.0 or 1.0, I should say, beyond 1.0.
Yeah, it's a large combat ship. Like, how necessary is that going to be to get into
have-
this game?
Well, also
They
they
have
don't
been
have
pretty quick with them though, to be honest. Like they've been like, look at the Ironclad. I was surprised by how quickly that Ironclad's coming.
Crucible and Liberator are still in concept.
It gives them all of them at the same time. It's shaping up as another family, isn't it?
Yeah, but they need to get rid of. So right now, we already know that RSI is the first family, and we know that Drake and Misk are going to be the next ones after that, because obviously the Star Lancer is designed as them working on trying to build the Odyssey. And we do already know that the Ironclad is their stepping stone to the Carrack, the Kraken. So like this is probably going to be that stepping stone from wherever the Crucible and the Liberator. Which tells me then it's probably smaller than those, which moves me back to the helicopter gunship. So,
the Kraken is on the cards, by the way. I want to put that out there. Like when they kind of said, because we were expecting another Corvette to come, because we didn't think the Ironclad was a Corvette. But when John said it was a Corvette, I was like, that's the wrong size class. You don't know your own metrics.
Yeah.
But that means if the Ironclad's been made so they can make the Kraken is now on the cards. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I won't say when on there. Or how.
It wasn't on there, I guess. But yeah, I think the Kraken is something they're considering.
Yeah. Well, they keep showing off in trailers. Like they reworked the externals in the files. Like at Cousin Crow's, it changed, and I got Grim to check it, and yeah, it had been updated. So they've updated it like 3 or 4 times. So the outside of it's kind of like, you know how they did the outside of the Polaris first, then they did the inside. It's kind of like that. They've already got the outside of the Kraken now. They've just got to do the inside. So by doing the Ironclad, they'll have a lot more of those internals, so they can start to fill out the Kraken. I think we might get a surprise Kraken release at some point. I don't think they'll tell us that they're doing it and then just go bang.
Yeah, I do think so.
And
they showed it off at Nick's, around Nick's, and like, as much as I don't believe that CIG tries to telegraph everything they do, I also think that CIG thinks in that sort of combined way. And so they were like, well, we're going to release the Kraken when we release Nyx. So why don't we just show the Kraken at Nyx?
And that's their problem, is like they like to tease stuff that are
closely
related to some things. Yeah. And then like something gets delayed.
Yeah. I think that's probably, it's like, as I always like to say is, these are like, based off of what I can see, it seems like these are CIG's plans, but CIG's plans are not reliable. So we don't know if that's going to be the case or not. So
CIG is as excited about the Kraken as we all are. So like Ben Curtis and John, you could tell that that's something they're looking forward to. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
John likes Drake. As much as people think that John doesn't like Drake, he loves Drake's style, because the man has a Renault Twingo. Like the man can't. Just that alone tells me he likes the Drake style. He made an entire channel about him doing it, refreshing one. So
I'll end with this on the Paladin. I think it is the most interesting thing I'm looking forward to at IAE, and it'll be at the last day. So I don't know what size it's going to be. Like I kind of hope it's smaller, so I don't have to spend a lot of money. But I get the feeling, just connecting a lot of dots of things I've been told and people behind the scenes, I think it's going to be
big.
A Corvette.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd love it. I'd love it if it's a Corvette, because I would be so vindicated in my readings of how CIG talks internally. But
well, we don't have a gunship in that size class either. We've got the Perseus is technically a size. Well, it's in the same pad size, but it's essentially, we'll look at the character, the Perseus. It could be the Hammerhead's the same size as the Perseus, but then you got something like the Kraken that's longer again. So it is a bigger version, but same pad size. So I was hoping it was more like Polaris size,
I was hoping,
which is a pad size up. So an S5 rather than S4. But
Tomato, your thoughts on it, because I don't think you've fully given your thoughts on the Paladin.
Dude, I don't have much to say. It's a larger combat ship. I hope it's not. I hope it's not a variant of the Carrack. That's kind of boring. I don't. Okay. Sure. Like I didn't even care much about the Polaris. You know, I cared about it because it's the first capital, but large capital combat ship is large combat ship does combat in large ways. Yay.
Yeah. All right. I think we've already gone over, so let's just finish off with this one, because IAE and 4.0 coming around the corner. Probably a lot of people are going to be interested in joining Star Citizen. So what would if you were to suggest something beyond the just buy a $45 pack and you're done? Like, if someone was coming to you and said, I'm already going to get 45, I want the best, my budget is between $60 and $80. What should I get as a starter pack for Star Citizen? So we're not, because I think all of us will tell you right now, if you are interested in Star Citizen, and so for some reason this is your first ever view into Star Citizen, boy. Tell me in the comments why. But if you were, if for some reason, just get a $45 ship. Do not get the ship package. Do not buy anything else other than that, because you don't.
The slippery slope.
Well, and this game tries your sanity, let alone your patience, with its development cycle and its game playability. So just, if you're gonna get it, do that first before you do anything else. Don't get wrapped up into any of the hypes and stuff like that. But if you're already like, listen, I've played multiple free flights, my friends have it, I'm looking to get into it, what do I get? With a a typical AAA title budget, $60 to $80, what am I looking for game packages? So, Tomato, what would your suggestion be?
During IAE, I'm sure there's going to be a great Intrepid package. So you could do that. But I would say an Avenger Titan, a Cutter, or Intrepid.
Okay. Execute.
Yeah, you could probably go the Intrepid and upgrade it to something else. But I'd kind of go find the gameplay that you like and push towards that. Are you a cargo guy? Yeah, the Nomad works. Is that too expensive for you? Maybe you can just get the Cutter or the Avenger.
315p.
Yeah. 315p is a really good one.
Yeah, for cargo.
I think we need to get Tomato to go from the 135C to the 315p. Personally,
I started at the 325A actually.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, well, again, if you're at 135C, I think you need to go to the 315p. It's got 12 SCU. And the tractor beam, and it's not that much more. How dare you?
Vibes.
I will say the one that people need to always sleep on is the 315p, but the Cutter and the Avenger are always going to be the good solid all arounds. If you want to start going a little bit crazier, I think the 325A is not bad choice. The Arrow I think is around that price too. It's like $80 to $90. I think it's $80. And
Arrow's 75.
75. So yeah, that's good if you're just a pure combat. If you just want to pew pew, that's good.
Again, we're spoiled for choice. You got the Saulian in there as well. People sit on that one a lot. If you like Alien, I know it's more, but if you like Alien, there's a look. I had a lot of. It's
not even that it's old. It's more. It's the issue is it's like I think it's really niche. Like it's a super niche.
Well, let me put it to you this way, right? It is, but I had a lot of real life friends that brought in last year, and they brought the Saulian.
Oh. I will
because
say,
they saw it and they just went, yes.
I will say stay away from the Reliant. If I was to give an advice to these people, I would say stay away from the Reliant. The Reliant could be good in the future, but it has so many problems, you're not going to have a good time playing with your Reliant early on. I'll put it that way. Is there any ships you would say stay away from, just straight up from CIG?
Cutlass Steel.
Cutlass Steel. I mean, in that range, it's 60 to 80.
Oh, right. It's the Reliant series right now is not in the best place. Yeah.
In the Rambler. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't say like the 100 series, probably not.
Yeah.
I think somebody brought it up in chat, and like 100 series is not all that useful for the size range it is until fuel concerns and problems, and the refinery system that comes built in on the 100 series puts it like a good step above the other ones for being so long distance. But I would say like you probably shouldn't start with that.
Yeah. I would say also stay away from the Mustang Beta and maybe the Rambler. I like the Rambler. I really like the Rambler. But if you're going to get the Rambler, just get the Intrepid.
Cutter. Or just get the Cutter too.
Yeah.
Because the Cutter doesn't give up SCU and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's just, Yeah, again, it's personal choice, and
Yeah.
that's the thing I'm loving about this. Like every starter they add, there's just more and more choice, and there's no perfect ship for everyone. It's going to be tailored to the individual, more and more, and I really love that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I can actually say any ship now doesn't have a place at some point. I really like that. I think the only one I'd complain about, and it's not a ship, is the Rock and the Rock DS.
I was going to say the
in,
Rock
in that
DS,
area,
the
in
Rock
that
DS.
area, right? Yeah.
I am that cat,
Yeah.
that meme of the cat screaming at something and being like, "Why do you exist?" That's me with the DS. Like, why? What is your purpose? Why are you here?
We're a whole army of people yelling at the cat for that one. What are you doing here, Rock?
Go home. You're drunk. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for our discussions on the ships of IAE and kind of ships in general around IAE. If you want more in-depth coverage, Space Tomato, I'm sure we'll do some coverage. I will be doing my lore tours as I usually do on the floors of IAE. On the Astro Historian channel. And of course, the Inforunners will be doing breakdowns of CCU chains. Every day we'll do a breakdown of all the ships and how good or bad passes are, that kind of stuff. So you can join us there. You'll see myself, Space Tomato, Execute, Algrid, maybe
I haven't got
Loken.
Loken's time yet. I don't know if he's
I'll punch him and punch him to get him to do it and do stuff. But that sort of those sorts of folks will be there to help you, give you some advice, or at least talk about. If you want to hear us yap about spaceships, it'll be there. But if you did enjoy this, make sure you hit that follow button if you're on Twitch. If you're watching this well after the fact, like the video, subscribe for more content, hit the bell icon to be notified when these release. You can follow me also on Blue Sky. I've made that the full move over to Blue Sky.
What?
The AstroPub
What
on
is
Blue
Blue
Sky.
Sky?
Guy trendy over here.
It's a Twitter. It's made by the same people who made Twitter. When Elon Musk brought them out, they went and made their own thing. So it's like a more customizable Twitter. It's like if you took some of the functionalities of Mastodon and hybrided it with Twitter. So it's got a lot of that same vibe to it with more customizations. I've created you can create a news feed. So I created a news feed of just Star Citizen people who post a lot about Star Citizen updates and stuff like that. So if you want to just follow Star Citizen news, it just literally is it's like a timeline that's just that stuff.
A lot of Star Citizen folks moved over the last couple weeks.
So and so it's neat. That's where you're going to find me mostly on social medias. And of course, you can check me out on the lore stuff is at the youtube.com/theastrohistorian. And of course, you'll find Execute at the Inforunners and Space Tomato. What are your things again?
Space Tomato.
Don't you have others?
Oh yeah, Space Tomato 2, Space Tomato Plays, the Tomatoes. All tomato things. Just search tomatoes. You'll get some gardening stuff, I'm sure, which is good. It's healthy. But you might also see Space Tomato, which that would be me.
Yeah. That's what we really need to execute is we need to do Inforunners gameplay. Inforunner gaming.
Yeah.
That's
or something like that. Inforunners live or something. I'm looking into making more channels because it's just getting to that point where there's too much on one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
YouTube strategy is no longer all on one channel, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I don't do it for work. I just do it for passion. So yeah, I probably got to spend a little bit of time working on the channel and not doing the channel. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. We'll be moving on to our question and answer session. For those of you who are just coming on, I've changed up the system. You can just put question at the beginning of your question and then ask the question. You just type it in chat, and I have a bot which will collect all of those for you. We already have a ton. So I'll be doing that, but I'm going to be a little bit more. Space Man is trying to steal my groove.
Just enjoying questions.
I'm going to be a little bit more thorough about what I choose when I look at the questions because we're going to have more. It's going to be easier to do so. I'm going to try to pull out the ones that are most relevant to what we're talking about and try to keep it a little bit trimmed. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for hanging out. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.
Love it.
Like I said, we're going to be moving to question and answer session, so we're not quite done yet. Take a break, go get something to drink, grab something to eat, use the restroom, whatever. We'll be right back. And we're back with the question and answer session with Space Tomato and Execute, with the info runners in general, and talking about the question and answer session of our discussion on the ships of IAE. So we're using a new system for this one, where we're doing questions in chat. We take questions from the chat, but there's a new bot that I've gotten, which is the old InfoRunners bot, that actually pulls anytime you mention the word question in a comment, it will pull it. So I have a bunch of people asking, how do I post a question in the questions bot? So
that's the only downside to it. But
yeah.
Again, you don't have to have brackets or anything like that. Just anytime it says question, it'll come through.
So I'm going to do my best to go through it fairly carefully. And if your question is not picked up, or if I don't answer it, it's because I hate you personally. No, it's because we've got a lot of questions, and I want to respect the time of both Space Tomato and Execute in terms of what they have, because it is Saturday, and I'm sure they have a life outside of streaming.
Nonsense. I'm just going to sit here and argue online about server meshing for the rest of the day. And master modes.
I mean, I have a date with my wife after this. We're going to go watch The Substance, so I have a reason to do it.
I can't handle body horror, man.
Yeah.
How rude of you! It's actually Sunday, but.
Oh yeah, I know.
Loser.
Yeah. But you also it's the weekend, so you know.
Look what just dropped on the Paladin, by the way. 124 meters long. It's 4 meters shorter than the Carrack.
Wow. Where is this?
I just put it in the chat between us.
Oh.
And it shows where it's in the holoView and all that type of thing.
Yeah.
It's very similar to the Carrack, but it's 124 meters long. That can't be a coincidence. Well, again, you take the aerial thing off the Carrack.
I really hope it's just an evolution of the Carrack and not just a Carrack with more guns on it.
Well, it's just I got told things, and I'm like, if it comes out and it's just a Carrack with guns on it, I think some people are going to be really disappointed.
Yeah.
I will be.
All right. So
we'll see.
Well, let's get through some of these questions. Feel free to jump in as you need to, and we'll move on because this is going to be more freeform. York asks, question, when do you think AI crew will be implemented? Post 1.0.
Absolutely post 1.0. Confirmed by CIG.
We have no idea when that is, though. 1.0, we've all had that discussion. I think the general consensus is somewhere between 3 and 7 years in the future is I think most people's guess ranges for 1.0.
No,
so,
I think it's before 2026.
Yeah, I think that CIG is planning on it being in 2026 because they want to have it. We already talked about this, Tomato.
I know. When I hear it, I get worried again.
Well, see,
my cold sweats start.
I'm hoping it's like my concern about Squad 42 actually being good. I'm hoping that I'm just overthinking these things, and I'm hoping the CIG just doesn't say anything. Just be like, hey, the next patch is 1.0. Good job, kind of thing, rather than being like, hey, 1.0 is gonna have all these things and it's gonna come out on this date. Like, no, bad CIG, stop doing this.
There is 2 ships in the files that point to the start of AI though, and there's also the jump point that they did. So I think it was the September jump point. They said expect more on AI soon, and they did a whole article on AI. Algor and I did an episode on it because he found that jump point article and we went through it. But also in the files, the Zeus ST is also shown as a passenger transport, but not only that, the E1 is in there as well.
Yeah, but those are different types of AI. What his person's asking
that's not,
is,
but that's why I said this. Yeah. So what I'm trying to show though is it's the start of it. It's the rolling out of AI in Star Citizen.
Yeah, I think CIG will eventually do it. Yeah.
You said Zeus ST. That's
you remember that from CitizenCon? You remember that from CitizenCon last year? That was on the slides.
Yeah, it's the Zeus Space Tomato, right?
Yes.
They told me they would name a ship after they bought me a yacht, and then
they
said they name a ship after me if I play the game. That's why I'm making these videos. What do you mean? It's supposed to.
Honey lied to you, mate.
I feel bad for Mike because they keep losing his check in the mail.
I
hear they're paying him in shares.
See,
he keeps taking him out frequently enough. That's probably the case.
He's actually the Colders. The Colders are just his business name. All right. Next question comes.
It's only, dude, it's only a matter of time before somebody sees this and think like CIG gave it to me or something.
Yeah.
Like, they're paying you in shares.
Steve that answer asks, do you feel that the Polaris with its PDSs makes the first ship that you can truly solo combat missions? No. Oh God, no.
No.
Why would you try to solo a combat mission with a Polaris?
No.
Anything that is meant to challenge the Polaris enough to pay you enough to make it worth it, it's going to be pretty difficult.
Yeah.
And by their logic, they're not the only ships that have the PDS. The Phoenix now has a PDS as well.
Yeah, and I bet you the gun on the Perseus is going to be swapped to having a PDS instead of it being a. I think we'll start seeing more ships have PDSs. I wouldn't be surprised if the 600 gets a PDS, and 600 is far more soloable than the Polaris. You know,
that's a freaking big ship to solo.
Yeah,
I just want to whip out my capital ship, go on a little joyride.
The cost to just scratch that thing is like 1 million credits to repair it. The refuel is insane.
That mission that we did with Moist, the repair cost was 1.5 mil.
Yeah, like. Solo means you're not using all of the weapons effectively. So even if it's an easy combat ship, you're going to take damage.
Yeah.
All right. The next question comes from Prizzyfall. Prizzyfall from YouTube.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah. Who asks, do you think CIG has done the correct thing by putting the IAE ships in the PTU to be tested before launch? Yes.
Yep.
They need testing. It's better for us to test them now than it is later. I mean, look how many things have changed because of that. People were complaining about it needing a size, the Intrepid needing a size 4. We got a size 4. You know, the Trauma Turtle needed a seat for the like medic. It has a seat for the medic now. Like, that would have they basically killed all the drama about that at IAE, their biggest ship sale of the year, by dealing with it ahead of time. It's perfect.
Yeah. And honestly, it still gets plenty of hype. It still works. I do wonder though if like it would be more significant for sales if they did it all at once, if they revealed it all and it all happened at once, or if that makes a difference to them.
Yeah,
just a bit of working thing there. Did you see what I did in the bot there? That's how we keep track of them. Just do that, and then you won't lose track.
The brackets?
The emojis.
Oh, the emojis.
Yeah, and X is when you don't want it red, and then thumbs up for it's done. That's how Mannago do it. Yeah, but you do what you want. But that's how we keep track.
Yeah. I'll do that.
Yep.
All right. Next question comes from James, who asks, do you think that the Redeemer is still worth its price tag, given that the Starlancer tax is the exact same price? No.
Yeah, Redeemer's very overpriced. What it is.
Wait, do we think it's worth its price tag?
Yeah.
No.
I think the Redeemer needs a serious overhaul. I think it's up there with the Reclaimer, in my opinion, that needs to be completely redone from scratch. Like,
the Redeemer is going to be a great like history of Star Citizen development story.
So one of the things that came up at CitizenCon is, you know how when they were talking about military ships, you cannot craft military ships. You have to go earn the patent before you can build them. That's why I think combat ships are, look, not only are they game ready straight away because they're pew-pew, but they're also going to be, you have to go out and get the patent for them. So that's why they cost so much more. We've always wondered why there was a combat tax. That's why. So that's why things like all the Perseus, the Redeemer, anything that's combat, all the fighters, they're all got a combat tax on them. And that's why, because especially like Anvil, you can't just go build an arrow. You're going to have to go do all the rep grinding to actually earn an arrow. And he does talk about that in the, where he's talking about where he's got the prospector and he wants to build an arrow and completing that loop. Like you have to go out and you can't just go do it. You've got to have a patent and essentially build one because they're military.
And I will address this because someone's going to bring this up. Well, it doesn't. Why would somebody let somebody else build a ship of theirs? And I have to respond by saying, why does the Armalite allow for people to build versions of the M16 and the M4 that they didn't actually make? Because that's how weapons are always done. Weapons are not always like
What the?
What? What do you mean?
I'm sorry.
It was the cat. The cat walked past and he's just like, "What the hell is that?" It's happened like 6 times.
I saw it
in the last few times. Yeah,
Lola-
I just ignore him.
Lola is gone. Rest her soul.
Here, look, I'll help you. There you go. Look, there you go. Yeah.
But I love that you have a one brain celled orange cat. You know, you got one of the dumb ones, the dumb lovable ones.
He can hear you.
He doesn't have the brain cell right now. All orange cats share one brain cell, all of the entire planet, and they all have it at various times.
It's pretty talented.
They love him to death. But as someone who has a black cat, who is sometimes black cats are sometimes called just burnt oranges, voids. We come with burnt oranges. Like, I love Kit to death, but she's dumb. She's very stupid. I love her, but man. But love cats. Yeah, I think we've already kind of gone over that.
Sorry, you were in the middle of something and I freaked out.
Yeah. I don't even remember what I was saying. And now when you freaked out.
TAC Redeemer.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's sort of thing. The weapons, like weapons aren't proprietary forever. Eventually, people know how to replace them, and like it's not unusual for weapons and vehicles and stuff like that those schematics to be out there. And on top of that, it's a video game. It's a completely different universe that you don't understand. So stop trying to apply 20th century logic to 29th century realities. So,
I almost think too, with the removal of the size 5s, they may drop the price a little, or they're going to have to add other functionality to justify the 330. You got to remember when it came in, it was originally in a package for $265.
Yeah,
that was it's one of the most expensive ships that came in a package ever. So you add that all up, and it basically would have been $250 before concept, and that would probably be a better price for it now. Let's be honest.
Much.
Yeah,
so much for a ship like that.
I personally think that if they need to go back to concept with that, because and I think what they do is what they're doing with the Mark II Hornet and the Mark I Hornet. You go back to concept and say, we're going to redesign this whole thing entirely from scratch to make it make sense in the universe that we have now. We're going to give you an option to upgrade it or to keep your ship.
So a Mark II, or is it
a Mark II? Yeah.
So I'm going to be honest. I think you need to kind of just you can't have both. I think you've got to get rid. I think you've got to rip the Band-Aid off, and
then you're going to need to give the option for people to swap out of it, because people are going to get really mad.
Or refund.
Give them
I'm going to be honest.
Refund for the price.
I think you need to give the option for a refund.
Yeah,
to be honest, and I don't think they'll ever do that, because it's too much money to give back.
Yeah.
It's a really difficult spot, but that ship is problematic, because let's be honest, CIG didn't make it. That's where this all stems from.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
That's why it's going to be such an interesting look at the development, because it has been a problem since the very beginning. And it's one of those things that they did as a small company that was very like campy and into the community, and it was really cute and it was fun. It was a great game, but like now it's really messing them up 10 years down the line, and it will continue to do so for the life of this game, probably.
Yeah.
Or they can just put their foot down and redo the concept, and everyone else be damned, because again, it does say on every single web page, subject to change.
Yeah. And so I think they could still capture the spirit of the Redeemer, what it's designed, even keep the hair curler engines, but improve its flow, improve its design language, make it more in line with Aegis. And
we did a whole episode on this, didn't we, Paul?
Yeah.
Like it's really obvious. You've kind of essentially got to flip the decks.
Yeah.
Essentially.
I disagree with Iris, because Iris and I had this conversation before that they say CIG didn't make it, but they did fuck it up. I don't think it's solely CIG's fault, but CIG definitely has the blame for it, because CIG just kind of said, fuck it, and just released it, right? Rather than like sitting down and taking the time to take the idea of the Redeemer and the style of the Redeemer and then turn it into a ship that actually works as the Redeemer.
Do you think they can fix it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Worst case scenario, if you don't like what they fix it to, you melt it or upgrade it into something else.
Yeah. I think the way you fix it, we did an entire episode on this, but the rundown is, take it from being the neck that that it has similar to the Hercules series and that style, put it down. So instead of having a neck, it has a hump, and that hump is where all of the
modules are.
The modulars are, or not the modules, the living quarters and the component, the components and stuff like that, with an airlock that you can escape in and out for that way you can pull the modules out. And then the bottom area that's underneath that area is the actual module that you can swap out with jump seats and other things like that to make it more modular.
The other way I thought about doing it is you could actually put them side by side and just make it a shorter ship as well. But again, that's like you said, it's a complete redesign because it's a problem they inherited, and I think it's the one ship I think most people would understand why it has to change. Everyone else, they can kind of, it's out of their purview, you know. But the other thing is, I'm going to put this too, knowing the Paladins there, I think a lot of people are going to upgrade.
Of course. But I think people will upgrade to the Paladin if they want to, from the Perseus, because if it looks at sounds of things, it's going to be kind of like if the Perseus and the Hammerhead had a baby. So,
well, at 124 meters, I'm now preparing for Carrack pricing.
Yeah,
this is a $600 to $700 ship all of a sudden, potentially. You got a Carrack, and then you got it's almost Carrack sized, and then you got the combat tax on top of it. Try and tell me that's not $600 to $700 now.
Yeah, easy high expenses. But I mean, I also don't like more expensive ships, because more expensive ships in my mind are actually bad. Not because CIG makes a lot of money. I don't think they make a lot of money off of them. I think they make more money or as much money off the ATLS as they do a Carrack.
Yeah, Paul can't upgrade, but that's just Paul, and that sucks to be Paul. But everyone else can upgrade.
Listen. If they actually completely reworked the Redeemer, I would almost demand out of principle that I have the only Redeemer that is the original Redeemer that is garbage, that I never pull out and never anyone gets to see. It just sits there.
You have to use it.
Can I be honest? Have you actually tried it
since? Use it for everything.
Have you tried it since the rework? It is in a very good spot right now, to be honest.
I don't
way
fly
more
it.
nimble.
I hate it.
But again, it's changed, so I think you need to go back and have a look and say, I'd like to hear an updated complaints.
Okay.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Well,
so you can complain. That's totally fine. Well, again, it's way faster. It's way more maneuverable. I think if he's going to complain, he has to have updated complaints. So go look at it.
I have
please.
My issue with it was always that it needs to be faster and more maneuverable, but less armor.
It is.
And
it is.
But what I've heard is that it's still not fast and maneuverable enough.
Okay.
That is the issue. It's it still doesn't have that edge, and it should feel like an attack helicopter. And if you've seen an attack helicopter move, those things are fast. They can fucking maneuver very fast, and they have a certain sort of je ne sais quoi as you see them flying, and that's what it should. You should look at it and you should feel the engines throbbing in your soul when it comes over you, kind of thing.
You know the engines off the Tavara and how they kind of hover, those hover pads? Yeah. It'd be kind of cool if they actually made it so the engines can, because we've seen things where they say they go down, and make it so it can never actually bottom out. It's some kind of human tech that's a version of the Tavara where it almost hovers on the ground.
You're literally
that would make that way cooler.
That you're literally describing my fan lore for the my fan canon for it, because that's literally what I said.
Glad we're on the same page. Yeah. Great minds think alike.
We just have RSI rebuild the Nebuchadnezzar from the Matrix and call it a day.
There we go. Yeah, why not?
All right, let's move on. We've been talking about the Redeemer for far too long.
Sorry.
I think we talked about it more here than we talked in that episode.
Your favorite ship, John? It's for your favorite ship, Paul. Of course we're going to talk about it.
Shipasta asks, with the the Pioneer rework, did it become Consolidated Outland's capital ship, or was it always a capital ship?
It was always a capital.
It wasn't technically a capital, but with its increase, it's now a capital. I think it was always intended in that range, though.
It had capital components the whole time, Paul.
No, it didn't. It never had a capital component. It only recently got
what? The redesign wasn't capital.
I need to go look at that.
Huge?
The redesign does. The original one had size 3s. Size 4s was capital components. It had no capital components.
But size wise, isn't there they put like a meters reference of what a capital ship is in terms of size? Are you saying that the old one wasn't big enough?
No, I'm saying that CIG has always said that that a capital ship is made by its components. So if it has a capital component, then it's a component. Then it's a capital ship. So
Okay.
like a Carrack, for instance, is a capital ship, and so is an 890 because they both have capital components.
I'll take that from components. I get you.
Yeah, it's BattleTech style design language, whereas like BattleTech they have light, medium, and heavies are based off of tonnage, not necessarily height, but tonnage.
It's only got size 4 guns as well. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, I think the redesign.
That's going up in price then.
Yeah,
that's going up.
It's
for
definitely
sure.
becoming up with that one. So, all right. Do you? Escape asks, do you believe the Ares could be improved with even a small bunk? No. The Ares doesn't.
The Ares?
Yeah.
No, it's a fighter. It's not an internal ship.
I think the question is more like giving it like the Avenger treatment where you can like.
This is like saying I should be able to take out my Hornet and go mining. No, like not every ship does everything. Yeah. It's designed to be a fighter. That's it.
Yeah, I mean it's that is. Northern Trooper asks, oh no. All right. Okay. I'm just going now. Everyone's asking like, how do I ask questions? Steve that answer asks, do you feel the component against the back wall is a major issue with the Intrepid? And do you feel the engineering screen at the rear of a single person ship is bad design choice?
No.
Why not?
Because that thing's designed to run, and as you run, you're going to get damaged, and then when you finally get away, then you can stop and repair your components. It's designed to run, not to fight.
Do we even know the full design of those engineering displays? Because original engineering display, when we're doing the testing, was mostly for things like opening doors, venting areas, and managing power, but we already have power management on the cockpit. So why would they have an engineering console on the back of a single person ship?
I'm guessing some of the additional engineering gameplay we get, like maybe whatever the tuner is supposed to do.
You can also look and see what's wrong as well.
But could you also do that from the cockpit?
It's not a full
you don't get
MFD
the full view.
display that
Okay.
Which you could argue they could do the full view. I think it does help to leave some room open for expanded gameplay later. Not sure if we're gonna see it, but
I think we can also file under things that we don't know.
Yeah. I think it screams, this is my first ship I've designed for Star Citizen, and if it isn't, I'd be very surprised. Either that, or they're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole when it was designed. I like the Intrepid. I like what it's designed for. I like its looks, because I like that sort of off-looking ships. I mean, the Corsair is one of my favorite ships, and I'm really mad that the Herald doesn't have its asymmetric style to it anymore. But I'm.
You notice how he hasn't mentioned smuggling one space? Like you're thinking it, I'm thinking it, everyone else thinking it. But
sir,
yes, we know why you like it.
It's okay. He's a professor.
I resent that remark, sir. I am an entrepreneur. Okay, what is the smuggling you speak of?
He just moves things from one place to another.
I'm in the import-export business.
There is a market for my goods, and I meet the demand for the demand. All right, I'm just
People
supplying the demand. Okay,
Give them their stuff.
no taxation without
Sometimes
representation.
that stuff is a person. That's where kidnapping comes from.
I honestly, I really hope that CIG releases a mission where you have to like smuggle workers out of Hurston as a smuggling mission, like get this person in a crate, and then like get them out of Hurston before Hurston knows what's going on.
The entirety of smuggling should be just taking Death Stranding and expanding it to a space environment. There you go.
There we go.
You're basically smuggling in that game.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think there's still a lot of questions about engineering gameplay for the back console, and I think the design in the back feels like they're making the most of what they had, or it's somebody who's still trying to figure out how things should go when they're looking at designs or how to design them. Because I think the other thing that we've all pointed out, which is as they get more budget, they become more boxes, kind of matches that aesthetic. So the idea of having, all these components in the back, it's like, that's where they can go. They just don't have any space. They have to go there. And if that's the case, then that is a danger for having it, you know?
Yeah, that is rough.
There is one weird thing with that ship, and I had to think about it for a really long time. I was like, why didn't they put all the components just in the hallway? Because besides the doors, the only thing in there is a fire extinguisher. And then and that was the thing that tipped me to it. If a fire breaks out, it's then closed off into a room. Because there's nothing that can catch fire in that corridor. So you can get access to the fire extinguisher, then go into the bedroom or into the back of the ship and not be on fire. But by the same token, they could have just put the fire extinguisher in the cockpit and removed that whole corridor.
Yeah, I think
it's a bit weird.
I think those doors are compartments. Like I heard people complaining about the amount of doors between the Polaris bridge and everything else. It's like it's because it's a fucking military ship. You want to have doors to get between you and the borders. You know.
We'll also remember the cutter. It moved its internals around a lot between the variants as well. So while this one's got a corridor and a bedroom and I don't know what you call it, an engineering room or whatever, cargo area, it might vastly change in the other two variants.
All right, let's move on.
We'll have to wait and see.
Shipasta asks, we all know Paul's favorite ship is the Redeemer. What is the rest of the panel's favorite ships? Tomato?
The C1.
Okay. That's because you like Mass Effect.
That is part of it. Yeah. I'm still waiting for my absolute favorite ship, and it's taken a while for me to settle on something, but I think the C1 kind of nails what I like right now.
I do like the C1.
Execute.
Yeah. Mine's been the Reclaimer for a really long time, but Polaris was my second favorite, so I'm kind of like enjoying that at the moment too. I have been having a bit of I've been flying the C1 a lot lately, like a lot. And I've been having a bit of a resurgence with the Nomad too, because of I really hated on it for a very long time. Like it's a great shipping game though. The price is just terrible. So yeah.
I've gone back and forth. I think the Corsair is still my favorite ship, but I think there's two favorites. There's your favorite in terms of style and like gameplay or some sort of like practical reason, and then there's or some sort of like personal reason, and then there's the ship that's your favorite because you just end up using it all the time. And that's right. That ship for me is the Freelancer. The Freelancer series, the Max, the Miss. Like I always default to it. It's so well done because you can do so many different things, and I'm really looking forward to its update because I think it'll really shine with its. I
think with the update it will become a favorite. I prefer the Freelancer Max over the CL, to be honest with you.
Definitely. CL. I got the CL and I was super mad about it. And I'm like, this is worse than my Freelancer Max. I feel like I get more stuff in my Freelancer Max than I can in this. And so I upgraded it to the Starlancer Max because I'm just like, fine.
Nice.
I'm done with you. They got me.
That was their plan.
Yeah. Who is the target demographic for this ship that nobody asked for? Me. It's me. I am the target demographic. It's built for me.
I like the Freelancer. I can't wait to see that come up. I think something I really want to see is like a competitor to either the Constellation or like 600 size in terms of a ship from Crusader.
Oh yeah. Or
that's what I'd really like to see.
Consolidated Outland. I'd like to see them expanding a lot more too.
Yeah, mid-size ship. Yeah, that would be cool.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that.
Is it in the files?
No, it's in the Blue Silhouette video.
Oh, right.
I am pretty sure that is a medium Consolidated Outland. I'll send it to you. Hold on.
Okay.
It looks like the Mako from Mass Effect to me.
Yeah,
what you're talking about.
Yeah,
this one here,
little shuttle.
So if I don't know if you can pull that up on screen.
I'm sorry, not the Mako. The no.
The shuttle.
What's the other one called? Yeah, the shuttle. What's that called?
I forgot the name of it.
Yeah.
Mass Effect 2 has a name.
Jump.
They call it the whole damn time. They call it all the times, but
Yeah. So if you look at the lights on this thing and the stairs have the same triangles. You got to remember it's on a 45-degree angle because of the way they park the ships. I think they deliberately do that to make it harder to see. But basically, it's got. If you look at the Pioneer concept stuff from CitizenCon, it had all these triangles in all the brackets and stuff, and it has the same three. It has three triangles on the stairs going up. The lights on this are all hexagons, like on the Mustang and the Nomad. And then at the back, there's a back leg when you change the levels in Photoshop backwards and forwards. There's a back leg on the back right-hand side that you can't see clearly in the image. But it looks like it's ripped off the Mustang.
While you're doing this, I'm gonna do this. Save image, so people understand what we're talking about. Because right now they have no idea.
They're gonna be like the 2 and carry the 6 and what?
Yeah, what
Yeah.
What is X talking about? And it's this.
Yeah.
This ship is what he's talking about as a consolidated outline. I still
the
think this
hardest,
is just the Intrepid, but we'll see.
Well, the hardest thing to see is the leg. It's near the gas
front,
tank
yeah.
there, but there's a black little leg that goes down there. You can see the triangles I'm talking about in the little ladder. And then again, there's 4 little lights and they're all hexagons. It's also got big sloping panels like the Nomad and the Mustang. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
It almost looks like one of the stairs you'd get on up to like a Learjet instead of a ladder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, again, the Nomad has a similar ladder. Again, they're working on the Pioneer. Why the hell wouldn't they work on a smaller ship? You know? And then what we thought of is we now know it makes vehicles. So this is a ship, because it's really low to the ground, it could deliver vehicles.
Yeah.
It's the vehicle delivery and cargo resupply ship for the Pioneer.
I can see
It's a bit small for my taste.
Yeah,
it's a medium.
Yeah.
Though it is medium.
I think the medium comes from its length, not necessarily its height.
Would that even be medium? Yeah, it even seems kind of short. It looks like 25, 30 meters maybe.
It's a step up from the Nomad.
If you look
it becomes medium.
If you look at the person in the background, I think honestly though, I think CIG threw those people silhouettes in there to fuck up our perceptives, because I think some of them are way behind the ship. I think they did that intentionally.
They learned that after last year
to screw with our sense of perception. Like, because like some of them which are like oh, this looks like a tiny ship, and it's like there's no way this is a tiny ship. Like, this is a huge ship. So and
you can use the ladder in that one to work out roughly how big it is.
Yeah. All right.
Because you can see the number of steps on it and stuff like that. So yeah.
Anyway. Sorry. Moving on. Next question comes from Northern Trooper, who asks, at what point does the manufacturer design get in the way of functionality in game? Or is that CIG is not learning from the customer feedback on previous designs? Looking at you, Starlancer dashboard.
They redid the Starlancer dashboard.
Did they?
Yeah.
They just make it smaller or something like that?
They moved the radar from in the middle between the two and put it in front of the thing. They've changed it.
Okay.
It was on Reddit yesterday.
Okay. So the answer is they of course they learned from it. I think the thing is that CIG isn't slavishly like attached to style. I think style is what determines what ship they're doing. So like if they're doing like a
no, that's not true. Gameplay determines what they're doing.
That's what I mean. The gameplay determines the style. So
yes, that I'll agree with you.
So like if you're doing a base building ship, you're probably going to look at the industrial manufacturers first, and then you're going to figure out which industrial manufacturer fits it the most. And then if it works, it works. And if you need to change something around and make it new, they can just justify it later. As long as it looks like a MISC ship, it doesn't matter if it's actually a MISC ship. Look at the Prospector. The Prospector looks nothing like the Freelancer, but it does still have that big cockpit and all that kind of stuff. So
I think it's definitely they apply the styling to the ship. They don't apply the ship they need to the styling.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think they just with the Starlancer, it's more of those. They were like the Max and the TAC are very. We already built this. What else can we do with it? Sort of approach. Or we're already going to do this. Let's make more than one, because why not? Let's have fun. Because CIG is also very much in the realm of we're here to have fun. We're here to make video games because it's fun, and we're artists, so we're going to make art. That's their mentality. So
the rule of cool seemed to determine everything, to be honest. Like they like cool ideas and stuff like that, and they just kind of that comes first, and fun and all that type of thing.
Yeah.
And then they put the law on, and then they try and make it fit a manufacturer and all that type of thing. Can I tell you something really weird, actually, that will kind of tell you where it was on? You know the UFO ship that they wanted to do for the Argo?
Yeah.
That all came out of the fact that the Argo logo is a circle.
So is the Anvil logo. It's got a circle in it, and circle
and
is
that's
its main
exactly what
thing.
I said to them.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I said to them.
It's literally in their backstory of why all Anvil ships have the circle on them is because it's or the reason why the why every Anvil ship has the Anvil logo built into its design. Because
they want to make a big one of it, and I kept saying, well, why don't you just do a starter of it? You're probably more likely to get it past Chris if it's just a small little round UFO.
Yeah.
So again, you got the MPUV that's a snub. You don't have the starter or an advanced starter. One of those could be the UFO. And it would work and I said, what if you make it so when it lands, it like splits in half or something and then lands? So they're a part of the wing system or something like that. You're more likely to get away with it. And I all of a sudden, like talking to them, you could understand it wasn't just Paul Jones. It was all of them that wanted to do it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next question, which is, and I will adjust this because someone's talking about the depth of the dashboard. CIG could have removed that dashboard. They chose not to. That's not because they think it's that they dislike it. They actually have that dashboard on the Freelancer and the whole series. Both of them have that same dashboard. It's because the designer who built the Starlancer also built the whole series. He likes it. That's why he put it in there. That is an intentional design choice by that designer because he also built other MISC ships and enjoys that style. So
it would be kind of cool if he actually could have, how you got the holographic dash. It was almost like a holographic MFD, so you could choose which one you wanted, or like rearrange or something like that. Maybe in the future, I don't know. Throwing ideas out there.
I think it's fine where it is. I think also having people like with the Intrepid, having people who just don't like things is okay. Yeah, it's okay to not like parts. Yeah,
it is.
Someone in chat just mentioned the cutter, and you remember my whole thing about last year with the Rambler and all that, and then John told me that the name cutter is too cool. So we're talking with me and Argrid and him and Ben were all talking about that, and I said, well, look, I've got a new name for it because it goes into other ships and kind of like pulls all the pieces out and all the components out. You call it the gutter.
The gutter.
And he laughed at that one. Yeah.
I still think it's an ATLS variant. The cutter, it's not going to be called the cutter, but it's going to be called something like the CTR.
That's why I came. Yeah,
the CUTR. Yeah, and it's going to be, it's going to be like an Argo EVA.
I think
version.
it needs to be Drake. I think it needs to be a Drake exosuit, and it basically has like a little thing that it connects to. That's all these containers to hold all the different things, and it's like a little, almost like you have the exosuit, but it's got like a little trailer that stands on it, and it just pulls it back to the reclaimer. That's how I would have done it. But he reckons it's most likely going to be a drone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Norse Peak asks, what do you think the Pioneer after its updates, like the drilling platforms built into the landing gear?
I think it's become a behemoth. It's essentially gone from, as you kind of said before, it's gone from a large ship to a capital ship. I think it's 20% size increase. I think it's an example of CIG's new design or new direction when it comes to developing the game. That started because of why am I blanking on his name? Who left Squadron because they finished up Squadron and moved over to Star Citizen. The new Richard Tyra.
Rich Tyra.
Tyra. Yeah.
Rich's vision for how Star Citizen is going to direct is his gameplay perspective, I should say. Because saying Rich's vision, people are like, but I bought this for Chris Roberts. Rich is in charge of the direction, just like Todd Pappy was in charge of the direction. Like it's that. I think Rich's vision specifically is more about MMOs. How do I make this an MMO? And the other dev said he plays a lot of MMOs and he's a min-maxer. Yeah. So he knows his stuff. The idea of making a Pioneer a one-stop shop for a lot of stuff and just being like, let's just put in a mineral extractor in the foot, because he's thinking like an MMO player would, which is like, how am I going to be able, or like an MMO designer would, which is like, how am I going to get this functionality? Well, the players don't actually have to see it happening. I can just say it's happening and throw it in there. And so it's more of telling a story or showing the gameplay without actually having to show the gameplay. It's why are we working smarter rather than harder, and focusing on the actual gameplay of it rather than focusing on the the like aesthetics of it. So the original concept didn't even have landing gear. Oh, did it not? I didn't even know that.
What?
No, it
Didn't it land in the trailer?
It has landing gear.
Okay. What do you think, Space Widow?
I think it says a lot about what they, I guess, it says a lot about the ship. Like this could be an easy way to overpower the ship, to have it be able to do building and extracting. You're able to just sit there and churn out whatever you want from this ship without it moving. How does that balance its ability to get in danger? I mean, the entire design behind the ship before was like you'd build them in the place you're physically going to place them. If the case now is that you can just send drones over to place them, and you can extract stuff from the ship, and you can land your vehicle inside of it and your ground vehicles and all of that stuff. This is literally a base that can move. The old Pioneer was a base in the sense that like it had all the things to keep it sustainable. This is an actual base. This is a factory. You can essentially get anywhere and set up shop as you'd please. You can land like this almost treats Star Citizen like an RTS. You can just hop around with a Pioneer and a group of like 50 people, go into different moons and planets and systems that are entirely unclaimed, and just start laying down little military outposts. Not that, that would probably get too much too fast, and you can't really actually handle that as a group of people, but theoretically that's what this ship allows now. And it's kind of crazy. I do wonder though if those extractors are going to be a lower grade than what would be on, say, a dedicated extraction vehicle.
Yeah.
Now that they are
the
just like
drillers.
second-hand drills built into the landing gear, you don't really want that to be the absolute best you can get. Just
I think
continues
you
to
hit on another point
the
there
ship.
too, Space, is just how much resources this thing's going to be fed, because it doesn't collect the resources itself other than those extractors. You talk about building a city, but like they're all bringing it to that for it to build the city. You need other ships feeding that thing, and it's the same thing with the space station. They've all got to be fed. The beast has to be fed.
Yeah, and you also need you still need, like, obviously, if you're doing anything else in terms of money, you need cargo haulers to take that stuff out. You need refiners to refine those minerals, and like you can't find the stuff yourself. You need explorers. So there's definitely parts missing, but as far as productivity levels go, it's like a base.
Just
It's
like
pretty crazy.
Just like the Polaris. The Polaris is a mobile base. Same with the I'm trying to think of the other things. Like I'm sure that's where the Band Immersionment's going to go. It's going to be that sort of mobile home that you live on, because especially even in lore, it's like where Sully's headquarters are usually just a Banner Merchantman. So they're going to lean into that, and that's again the direction of Star Citizen, where the gameplay is going to take not just more focus, but the gameplay is going to be the point. So it's like, oh well, like you buy a ship because it's pretty and stuff like that, but you keep it because you play with it. The freelancer effect. The freelancer is good. It's kind of outdated, but damn, is it fucking useful for everything you need to do. Same with like the C1. Like, yeah, it's okay. It's good. You can do it for a lot of stuff that overall.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Shimpasta asks, for Tomato, you don't always buy a CIG ship, but if you did, what would it be and look like, etc.? What? For Tomato.
He doesn't buy a lot of ships.
What would it be and look like? Like what ship would I buy?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if we're gonna be like, I'll do one that's like way out of left field. In another life, I would buy an Odyssey. That's a pretty exciting ship. It's the one that feels closest to Prometheus in terms of any fiction I can think of.
Yeah, I can see that.
That one gives me the most vibes, and it feels like it kind of fits the role a little bit. And it's the one MISC ship that I think I really enjoy. But in terms of like the perfect idea of a ship, I think I said it earlier in this show, it would be like a mid-sized Crusader ship. I think is really what I'm starting to close in on. I like the ships that are around 30 to 40 meters in length, and that's where I'm always going to probably land. But in terms of a ship that like I really want to see and I'd totally pick up to hang out with me and my friends, it'd be like something mid-size from Crusader, maybe like 600 eye size.
How would you feel about a mid-sized Miro ship?
I don't know. I don't know what to think of Mirai. So far, their stuff hasn't really interested me, and I'm still not convinced about the whole changing of the brand for those ships. But I'm interested in seeing what they do, and like the whatever it is that we saw in the silhouette video this year looked pretty cool. So if that's the Mirai ship, then I might be more interested after that comes out.
I wonder what you'll be like with like a medium science ship, because I'm just thinking of what you said about the Odyssey. I'm wondering if that might be a bit appealing to you as well, like some science thing, when because they're not there. Obviously, we've got the Sen and the Endeavor, but we don't have the large or the medium. So
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah,
maybe down the line. Yeah.
whatever that like Normandy feeling ship is. It's always weird because the Normandy's way bigger than you think it is.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, in the fiction, they talk about how small it is because it's like it's a tiny ship compared to like
Compared to the warships and stuff.
but it's got the same power as a warship. So that's the whole like its whole appeal. But like even if you look at it, it's like it's small. When you look at it when it's docked in some of those stations where you can see the whole
Yeah.
thing, it's like holy shit!
You're like,
this
wait
thing's
a
huge.
second. Yeah.
It's the size of an Idris. Like it's huge.
It's so big.
All right. Escape asks, which is better, Ghost or Tracker? I think it just depends on what you need it for.
Yeah, they're different for different things. One's like up close and in your face and trying to hide. The other one's trying to find you at range. So they're kind of both different versions of scout ships in a weird type of way.
Mm-hmm. I think right now, if you're talking about it right now, the Ghost is probably better because there's at least some stealth functionality that'll help you stay off of radar. So when you get close, it's harder to see. Whereas the Tracker literally has no purpose. There's no you don't have better radar because of it right now, but
once the scanners come in, that may change. But I think the Tracker will probably be more niche too. You'll probably need one in a squad where you could probably have 2 or 3 ghosts because again they fan out.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's going to speak to different people, but again, espionage is going to have to be your thing, or command and control. It's not cut and dry either. Like they've all got a place, and that's the cool part about it.
I have a series of several questions of Gin and Tonic just going, how do I ask questions? How do we ask questions now? Exclamation point questions. AstroPub. Well, the pub coins or questions are off on purpose. And finally someone being like, you just put it in question in brackets. And so Gin finally asked a question. Don't you think there will be a ground vehicle that will be better LTI token than the Intrepid? I've been hearing people talking about a ground vehicle being sold this IAE, but I haven't seen any evidence of it. Do y'all see anything?
Either have I.
I haven't seen anything.
The only thing that was found in the files was that I can send that to you as well, because that was also found in the file, which was the Grey Cat CSV, which is some kind of tumbrel looking tank thing, and it was in the blue silhouette video. Hang on, let me just find it.
Oh yeah, the one that looks like the one that looks like the actually looks like the what is it? The Mass Effect.
So apparently it's got missile in the code. It has missiles on it. So
yeah,
essentially,
the Mako,
yeah. So it's that one there. And I don't know if it's tracked or whatever, but you can clearly see there's some kind of door at the back, so it's back entry.
Yeah, I thought this might be the fabled marine assault vehicle, which was what the Ursa was based off of, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that still, because I'm a big sucker for.
But by the same token, there are other things in the files. There are so many ships in the files at the moment. Like if they sell them all, I just don't understand how they don't tread on each other sales wise.
I don't understand what the heck happened to the G12, man.
You know what?
In production at one point.
Just like the Genesis Starliner, CIG's forgotten about it.
It's probably one of those
production. They were working on it.
Remember
that they quit because they continually forgot about the G12. It's kind of like an SCP. The G12 is an SCP where like no one remembers it, and so the guy who was working on it was like completely forgotten because he was connected to it. So like his wife left him.
He just stopped showing up. Nobody noticed.
Yeah.
Remember they only worked on the X1. They had the free time. It's probably the same thing. So he's probably working in another team at the moment, and then when he's got free time, he'll go back to the G12.
Yeah. I just think there's no excuse for it. Like it is
its origin. It can wait.
The function is in. They already have luxury rovers. It's just a small thing. Just knock it out. Like
it's been in there forever. Like,
Just
as a
take the
ground
weekend
vehicle-
off. No, just take the weekend off. Knock it out. Yeah, it's just so easy.
No,
it's
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying they need to prioritize it. They need to prioritize it in comparison to other ships because they already
But what
sold
do you
it for
get
money.
for it?
You get a
Yeah, but
completed
what-
vehicle.
More off the backlog, man.
Yeah.
Well, I guess.
Deliver the stuff.
But I think there's
sold.
I think there's some bigger things that are more important. I don't know. I had the discussion became really clear. Like all those things we theorized in the group about like the order they do things
Mhm.
and it's all tied to gameplay. It's so obvious now it's tied to gameplay. And again, when the G12 comes around, like so once they get into the ground warfare and that they need the AA missile stuff and they want a racing variant and they want the G12 will come around again. They need that ground warfare stuff more.
Yep.
And once they get there, that's when I reckon we'll see the G12.
No, I know. It's
Yeah.
it'd be nice to get it off the back end. I understand why they may not want to do it because they also have to go back and redo the like ground vehicle. They're still working on the ground vehicle changes that they need to do.
Still iterating on that.
Well,
What's the other one? The bike that rides on the ground.
the Ranger? Yeah.
The Ranger that we saw that on an ISC like 9 months ago. Someone was working on that, and that's still not out either. So
I don't think they've.
I don't know
brought
that they
up.
mentioned that at all.
No. It was in the background of an ISC.
Ah.
You could see it in the background.
Oh,
Really?
I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
it was. It was real pixelated. You had to zoom in, but it was definitely the Ranger, and it was definitely moving. So yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the next question, which is, oh yeah. So yeah, Jin was asking if is better than LTI that token than the Intrepid. Yes, a ground vehicle would be better.
Sorry, someone's at my door.
Hmm.
Hang on, I'll go. I'll be back.
Okay. Don't answer doors.
It's Chris.
I never answer doors. if
there.
I'm not expecting someone to come to my door and someone's at my door, I'm not answering the door. I don't know who the fuck you are.
Even if I'm expecting somebody to be at the door, I'm sorry, I'm not here.
Yeah.
Oh, I told you to come. No, I didn't.
The ground vehicles, I think they would be better LTI tokens, but we just don't have any evidence that an LTI token ground vehicle would be available. They're making it right now.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about that.
Percival asks, do you think CIG done the correct thing by putting the IAE ships? Oh, we already answered that question earlier, so we're good. Jinitak asks a question: Medipin or Trauma Turtle? Trauma Turtle. It's Trauma Turtle, not Medipen. Medipen is like, are we CIG now? Do we as the community, are we that creatively bankrupt that we need to start naming the same thing twice, used in the same name for two different things?
I'm sorry. I put it in the video and I feel like I have to stand by it now.
It's Trauma Turtle.
I was saying yesterday, if it is a Carrack variant, it needs to be the Carrack Liberator. Because I've done that twice already, so let's do it again. Dear.
All right. Yeah, because the TT Trauma Turtle works because it's just short as TT. Get to the TT, you know.
The Trauma Turtle probably would have ended up being.
Ash Morris asks, when are we going to actually data run so my MSR has a purpose? Data running should be easy to implement. Should be and is are completely different things. We didn't even have the back end support for something like data running until 3.22 or 23, when the one that was in this spring, because like we didn't have map support. It's now finally there. So it's more that CIG needs to figure out what that gameplay looks like before they start developing it. And it's not just, oh, well, it's moving information from point A to point B. It's like, yeah, but how does that interact with cargo, scanning, repair, salvage? All of these other mechanics have to be taken into account when you're building this one out, because it's not just take thing point A to point B. It's take thing that then has an impact on all of these other aspects. Like, how much is data that is being data run worth on the market if you salvage it?
Can you imagine what the start of it could be like? It's literally like an invisible cargo tier 0. So you land in your hangar, you go, I've just brought 50 gigabyte of data. Cool, it's on my ship. I then fly from station A to station B, and then I sell invisible data by uploading it.
Yeah.
That is literally, like, they could do that pretty easily, but God, it would be boring because
Yeah.
there's no box
Just cargo
unloading, no
hauling.
nothing. Yeah, it's just cargo going. That's the initial part of it, but it's all the other stuff that comes in, the e-warfare, trying to be hacked and all that stuff. So I think you kind of need the Legionnaire would be,
It's
because
like
we know that's tied to hacking. I think it'll be after hacking.
I think it's like bounty hunting. Like data
Yeah.
running is like bounty hunting, where bounty hunting requires like the restraint system. It requires like more better tracking and like scanning technology, like that sort of system. It requires the actual like pods to work properly to use the actual pods. And like they're going to replace the pods inside the Avenger Stalker, because those are the old pods. They need to have the new versions that they have in the blue. Like there's just a ton of things like that. So
I think
good.
I think that there's two sides to this. First, there is, well, I guess it's just one side. The idea that data running, like kind of like you said, it ties into a lot of stuff. So data running depends on a lot of things. In order for data to really matter, they needed to start to get the archetypes of actual things in the game figured out. And we can tell from just the fact that like earlier this year, they started turning points of interest into, I think, sinks, supply producers and consumers of resources. In this last economy pass, they started to, I think, change the way that locations, God, I can't even remember, but you can see over the last year they've started to do things that sort of characterize or categorize what things are in the game. And I feel like data running is probably something that depends highly on that, because when you scan a planetary surface, you probably need to have the ability to save the fact that you found a river, or the fact that you found a cave, or the fact you found a mining outpost, and use that data to then upload somewhere else or store. And that's the kind of stuff that they probably haven't been able to have until they've actually had those locations figured out, which we're just now seeing. However, the only thing that they need really to make data running viable is data points. And we have data points already in local environments. So as soon as we can get them in space or planetary environments and we can share those amongst one another, then we have data running and we have exploration. You can make money off those things, and they're not going to have missions spawn for them, but sandbox wise, that kind of makes it a thing, and that could happen within a couple of updates.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, we've got Sandgripper asks, here's a question. Ignoring size, will the Polaris be a better balanced ship for use of perspective for use perspective compared to the Idris? It'll be cheaper.
Yeah, that'd be cheaper to run.
I think it's just scale. Like less people with the Polaris, but with the Idris, you also unlock better tiers of. It's got tier 1 medical beds. It's got more like crew quarters. It has like a rail gun, or at least a mount for a rail gun, size 9. So its guns are better. It has space for at least 2, if not even more. I'm sure you could like store probably 10, combat or even just like small ships in that hangar bay. There's just a lot of stuff you can do. So I don't think it'll be better. I think it'll just be better for the scale of smaller groups. What do you think? Execute.
Sorry, I missed that question. I was answering the chat. What was the question?
The question was, I'll read it again.
See, I really need to pay attention. Sorry.
Ignoring size, will the Polaris be a better balanced ship for a use perspective compared to the Idris?
I think the Polaris is going to be more popular because it's smaller, so more people can use it.
So and I think this thing, he's just ignoring size. I think if ignoring size, the answer is no.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
But as soon as you bring size in, like, people are a resource, like that's why the more people you have, that you get bigger rewards in other MMOs and stuff like that, because you're going to have people working together. It's more effort to get everyone together. So yeah.
Okay. All right. We've got a handful of questions left, so we'll get through this pretty quickly. Citizen Joel asks, have they described the respawn range of a tier 1 bed? So this is where I'm going to hop in and say, there is no range. We're not talking about range. When you have a respawn regen, there is no range limit. You can go as far as you need to. You can go to different systems with regen. The way they described the lore behind it is clearly what they decided with the gameplay team when they were working on it. And the way the lore is described is you can be in multiple system jumps away and still regen in the bed that you imprinted on 3 systems
I thought
away.
they changed it in 323.
Have they changed that?
Yeah, I thought they made certain beds have a range. Like tier 3 beds, you could only respawn from a certain range. Tier 2 beds,
that's
longer,
the first.
Yeah.
That's the first I've heard about that.
Maybe I'm misremembering. Chat, can you throw me a line? Is that true? Is that a thing? Anybody? Somebody? Bueller?
I think that was something that they're talking about it. But like as an idea for balancing it, but I don't think it was ever said it was specifically, that changed with the release of NERSA.
Yeah, tier 3, 20 kilometers, tier 2, 50 kilometers. Not sure about tier 1.
Okay.
I think that should be a little bit further for tier 2.
Yeah. The range is legit.
Like
okay.
300 kilometers maybe.
So did they mention that?
Did they? I'm sorry.
Hold on. I got to deal with this because X is having an argument in chat with Jin.
Argument in chat.
There's someone insulting me in chat, and I'm being distracted by it. So I just said the conversation's over.
Insults are not necessary.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a link to that as well? Because I do want to know that. Because now I'm remembering them saying something about that too, about how there was going to be some range to it. Because if the answer is they'd already have that answer with the range for tier 1.
Right. I don't even know if tier 1 has a range. I think it was just all the time.
I think it was tier 1 was as far as you can possibly, or was really far, and then tier 2 went less, and tier 1 was only like 20 Ks. It really dropped down a lot. I'll have to go find the post again. Yeah.
So the answer is they probably haven't, but based off of the discussions with with lore, the idea is that the thing that matters is distance, but in distance in the sense of your corruption of your imprint. So like if you're 3 systems away, you can still regen at a tier 1 bed, but there's going to be some consequences to that in your IVS score and other things.
Okay, so I've got it here. Tier 1 is infinite, tier 2 is 50 Ks, and tier 3 is 20 K.
Okay. So
and there's also apparently timer differences as well. Yeah. So it's like you can respawn instantly on tier 1, 2 to 4 minutes, and then medium treatment's 30-second timer, and then tier 3 is 4 to 8 minutes. So yeah, so it's just not just distance, but it's also speed.
What if you die out of range of that bed as a tier 3? You always have you're always automatically imprinted on a tier 1 bed at your home location.
Yeah.
And that's also something they mentioned in lore where it's like if your imprint is destroyed, then it'll default back to the last imprint you had. And so it'll always bounce. The only way that changes is if your IVS score gets too bad. So
I think C Daddy might have posted them there as well.
Yeah, C Daddy posted the patch notes.
Yeah.
So.
I found it on Reddit, but yeah, thank you, C Daddy.
So, the distance is bugged, so all beds are infinite right now. Yeah, but I mean, the question was more specifically about tier 1, and the answer is that it's always going to be infinite based off of their design choices for how regen's supposed to work.
And I guess that's their way of being like, okay, we're going to let any bed have a regen. We're just going to gate how well they can do, and that's it feels like that's what they're doing for a lot of different things. Instead of doing a complete pass and a complete fail for certain things, they're doing like you can completely pass and then you can fail at certain levels, but we'll always like we'll save you. It's like I'm guessing that's how Death of a Spaceman is going to be. Like the whole, you're not actually going to lose your character permanently. We'll figure something else out.
The thing that I constantly get into, like, I think a lot of people misunderstand how the Death of the Spaceman is supposed to work, is you're not supposed to die the way you do now. You're supposed to, like, at all. So not only with bugs, but in general, you're supposed to be downed a lot more. So there's a lot more of a, like, and if you say, oh, well, I'm down and it's going to be 20 minutes before someone gets to me, I'm just going to backspace express back to where I need to go and then come back and recover my body. CIG will punish you for that with Death of a Spaceman. So you don't do that, so that you don't die as much, so it doesn't hurt as much. And they're also going to be super, like, flexible with your IVS score, because when you die in regen, it's not like you're a brand new character. You're still the same character. You just have a score that you have to keep track of how that goes down. CIG is not going to two-shot you with your characters. They're gonna make it so it's practically impossible for you to die without you knowing you're going to die. Like, they want to make it so that you have that threat everywhere. So, all right. Next question. Well, one. The Paladin and wording is turrets and ordnance. Does ordnance mean missiles, size 5 torps, or railgun? Probably missiles would be my guess. Yeah. Monster Ivy asks questions. Thoughts on if they have to do another LTI game package with the Intrepid? Yes, they're going to do an LTI game package. If it's a starter ship, they'll do an LTI game package, like they did with the Reliance and the 100 series, and yeah, 100%. Do y'all think that they won't have an LTI game package with it?
I think they will. I'll see if I have something to melt for it, because I would take that over other starters.
Yeah. Well, I don't think
might be what we do for our giveaways.
It's going to be Warbond almost certainly. Like, you can't buy. You won't be able to get it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's true.
All right. Crystal King asks, do any of you think do you think that there will be problems integrating server meshing with ray tracing? If the sun is one server and the player is further out, might we see a lot of bugs with pathing? Some, but that's not how server meshing works.
Yeah, I don't think rendering really has a problem over servers.
No, because the data is being transferred over to the servers, and then the data is just transferred from where you are, from where the light's coming in, or something to that effect. Like, the problem isn't the data being handed off between servers, because it's all that light is just the data that's reaching there. The problem is players moving between those two and doing so seamlessly, that handoff being smooth. But light as data being reflected off of a star to you on a planet is just a data stream. That's all it is. And they don't have to hide the handoff. It can be as janky as possible. So you might have some artifacting and weird stuff, but it's not nearly as complicated as a ship. All right. Redamon asks, with the Wave 4.0, the 4.0 Wave 1 EPTU is currently only US server. Will it move to EU and OS and Asia soon? I don't think they typically do that. They tend to stick to just one server, maybe two for PTU.
But for Evo, and then PTU sometimes goes Europe and America.
Yeah, almost rarely does it go to OS and Asia at the same time, though. So.
It's as the numbers go up, basically, they diversify it out. Yeah.
All right. Do you think we will see or get a hint about the Carix modules?
No.
Not soon.
So again, there's two ships that were redone on the website. One of them was the Carrack, the other was the Orion. And I think what they might be doing, and you're the marketing guy out of us here, Paul, so you tell me if this sounds good or bad. But remember what they did with the 600i, and it essentially made all the sales go up with the rework concept
discussions.
Yeah, so if they do it doesn't mean it's a rework coming for the Carrack, but what if it's a discussion around the Orion and the Carrack to revitalize the sales on those two?
Probably.
That would be the third time we've gotten a big update on the Orion with it nowhere near coming out.
I don't think
how long has it been since we got one? What was it? 2017 was the last one?
Arastra.
Yeah.
Arastra was the last time.
Yeah, did they do a good talk on the Orion back then? During the Arastra?
Yeah, they did. They talked about how it was a stepping stone and like what they were planning on doing it, and how the Arastra is teaching them a lot of stuff. So I do think that they'll probably do it with the Carrack, because we actually do know that Dan is Dan M. I can't remember his last name, but he was the one who worked on the Fury
Yeah, he's redoing the shell thing, isn't he?
He's
on the Windows.
He's completely working on that, and I think because the trauma turtle has the similar sort of armor
and that
covering,
works now,
and it works. I think that he just took that animation, that stuff, and then has been playing with it to work it for the character.
Is that Dan McCabe?
Dan McCabe, yeah. Dan McCabe.
I did see him, but I saw him at CitizenCon, but I'm like, I know that guy, but I don't know his name.
Yeah.
Dan as McCabe, he walked past me. Yeah.
Dan McCabe is I think him working on that tells me that they're probably working on the Carrack. But again, the only reason why they'd be working on the Carrack is because they're also working on the Paladin and the other like Anvil ships. So I think it's more likely we'll see an update on those when we get closer to the release of the Paladin, and when we'll see like updates on the Carrack and those sorts of things like that.
Just theorizing here, the onboarding task for Ghost, the Tracker, and the Terrapin, it kind of sounds like it's rolling up at Anvil a little bit, or a little bit in practice for more rollout. I don't know.
Yeah, I do think that. I think that Anvil is the third after the RSI. I think once the teams who finish up their RSI, like they don't nearly need as many people for the Perseus as they needed the Polaris. So the team, once they wrap fully on the Polaris, that team will move on to the Perseus, and then some of them will move on to other teams. Probably my guess would be like the Ironclad, and then that sort of thing. So like they'll start spreading out the work a little bit more, and so we'll see a lot faster turnaround, because CIG is definitely hitting that sweet spot where like capital ships are not the thing they need to work on. Capital ships don't work for them very well. The sweet spot for them is the 100 to 250 meter long ships, which are big and difficult, but don't take nearly as much time and effort as a Polaris does. So,
why do you think that is?
Because it's do you remember? There's an old discussion from the Halo community. I remember this a long time ago, where people asked for the Bungie to make bigger games. Like Big Team Battle was 8 versus 8, right? 16 players. And they asked Bungie, hey, could you do Battlefield, where you have like 32 versus 32? And Bungie's like, yeah, that's entirely possible for us to do. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't make any sense for it, because once you start getting to that size, you don't feel like you have an impact on a game of Halo like that. And I think that's really where it comes down to, is that CIG has learned that the optimal party size that they want to go for is in series of 1, 2, 4, 6, 9, or 8 or 9, and then 12. Those are the kind of variants that they're going to work with. So they're building gameplay for those sorts of numbers.
So you're talking efficiency as opposed to like difficult. I thought you were saying there's like a significant step up in difficulty making a ship that's 300 meters versus 220.
Because it's just more work. It's just more space. When you build a 300 meter ship versus a 150 meter ship, it's twice the size. I think when you get above 150, it starts to become a little bit more difficult, because 150 is about the size. It's a little bit bigger than the Hammerhead, and the Hammerhead is fairly organized when you look at it. It's mostly corridors and other things, but even if it's size, even if you filled in all those spaces, it's like 5-6 rooms plus a couple things. Whereas when you look at the Polaris, when you start getting bigger than 150 range, you're starting to look at like 7, 8, 9, 10 rooms. And those rooms each need to have their own lighting pass. They need to be designed properly. They need to have a purpose. And when the Polaris has a bunch of space that's just not utilized. It's not efficient in its utilization of space, because they had more space than they had, there was more space for them to use than a need for it. So they're like if you look at the medical bay has a bunch of space that's just empty, because they wanted to mirror the look on either side of the bridge and the medical bay. Like, why do you need a person sitting in front of a desk at a medical bay? Like, this doesn't make any sense, but it's because they have it for the other side, and they just wanted to make it easier. So, and it leads to that sort of thing. There's not like a specific hard number, but the reason why I say 150 is because that's about what the Carrack, between the Hammerhead and the Carrack sort of range, and that seems to be where efficiency in terms of player, like gameplay, and then also in terms of like how many people have to work on this ship becomes a problem. So,
It was interesting to see how much the ship team had grown too, because essentially they've gone from 28 to 52 in a year, so they grew by 24.
Mhm.
And that now having the 2 ship teams, one in Montreal and one in Manchester, that probably means they only grew by 12 each, or I'm
Yeah.
guessing. But
Well, I'm sure there's at least one person in LA and Austin, even though they're not the main focus of that anymore. I'm sure some of them still exist.
no,
No, they're
No.
all. Are they all Manchester? And
No. I've got things to tell you. Remember, I told you I got all
Yeah.
the stuff to tell you. No,
yeah.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll type this in chat, but don't react. Oh,
Okay.
To you guys.
All right. Let's move on to the next question.
Oh my gosh, Executor, you serious? What?
I haven't hit enter yet, dickhead.
I was gonna say, like you can't just tell us the release date of 1.0 like that.
Read it now and tell me if it's not going to shock you.
No, that makes sense.
He just sent us pictures of his toes, guys. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
They're Pico toes. It's totally fine.
Escapa asks, how far do you think the mission? Do you think missions for ground vehicles that Elliot Maltby was working on are? Oh, how far out do you think missions for ground vehicles that Elliot was working on are in production?
This far. This far.
R.
Yeah, sorry.
Soon.
Soon.
TM.
I actually before we recorded this, I said that there's next patch, CIG soon, and then soon. If CIG says next patch, it's you got a 50-50 shot it's going to hit next patch. If they say soon, but everyone at CIG, multiple departments are all saying this is coming soon, you've got between 3 months and 2 years that's going to be coming out. And if they just say, if one person says soon, then fuck, you have no fucking idea. No one has any fucking idea. They're just saying it so you don't get mad at them.
Yep.
And so I think the fact that Elliot is talking about this and the monthly reports have talked extensively about vehicle usage by NPCs, and that CIG started adding, for those who don't do this, because not many people do, almost all of the derelict outposts have NPC parked, or NPC owned but not operated Ursas on them.
Yep.
You can just find
and
Ursas.
there's that what he said, that's scientific too. This has been happening long enough for there to actually be a real mathematical symbol right there next to multiply and divide and subtract. And it's not you take the number of features that CIG has told you they're going to deliver, and then you use this new symbol that they've created called the quantum, as they should. And then you add in the day of the year that it is, and you'll get an answer that generally tells you when to expect features coming. And usually that answer is soon.
You got to click your heels though and spin 3 times. As well.
I do have to respond to this by saying Castra. The method works, man. All right, I'm just saying. But yeah, generally speaking, if CIG is talking about it more and it's across multiple departments, it means that they're actually developing it. It's not like Elliot's doing it for shits and giggles on his side. It's like it's a somewhat of a priority that could direct completely off skew because Chris decides he plays the latest Dark Souls game and decides to fuck everything up. But it's more than likely going to be, I would say, based off of what I've heard from monthly reports and seen what they've talked about, those vehicle-based will probably get a very bare-bones basic version before the end of next year. Not fun, not interesting, not engaging, a proof of concept that they'll release.
Yeah, I was thinking over the summer.
Yeah.
We could probably see some new missions come in.
You can also see what they were planning like 12 months ago, like bounty hunting, the hacking.
Mhm.
Like there was things that were coming that they kind of got pushed off to the side for base building.
Yeah.
So I think remember how we had the trolleys going around in the IRC for the delivering of the pods and stuff. So that'll come back around.
Also, they worked on the Hawk
and the hacking.
The Hawk. The Hawk's not going to have a seat anymore. It's now going to be an actual pod storage. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So bounty hunting's one, hacking would have to be another one. Medical was there, and that's had a lot more done to it. But I think that's a bit easier than the other two. I don't know if you guys think the same, but I think hacking will come back around and bounty hunting next year.
I'm done talking about hacking, man.
I will continue to say the same thing that I've always said about hacking. I didn't like their approach to hacking. I'm glad that they've taken that feedback and removed from it. I still think they can do a classic cyberpunk style deck system where you have different decks you can build to hack different systems, and it's more of a matter of getting the right programs to use on the right systems to be able to overcome programs, things that make it an actual gameplay loop. The Shadowrun style system that they do in TTRPGs. I think it was in the original Cyberpunk, the one that is Cyberpunk 2077. That TTRPG had similar system of like hacking where you use decks meaning programs that you have. So
I think it's Salvage 2.0 to me at this point. The amount of times it's been not delivered.
Not delivered.
Yeah.
I think when it is delivered, it will be. I'm hoping it'll be better than just Pac-Man, because that was an awful choice. That was an awful choice.
Since then they had said that they were redesigning it to basically be you would inject code that would pretend to be the person who was supposed to be actually doing the programs on there. So like they had changed it. I think that was like in 2021 or 22. They said that. That's why, like, if they were talking about it that far back, I figured it would have been ready for at least a preview channel this year, but I guess not. Like you said, resources pulled for base building, maybe.
That's 100%. I believe that 100%.
Base building became really important because much like the vehicles and the ships and stuff like that, now when you bring a system online, so say they essentially bring a medical online, you can cross-pollinate it out between the ships, the vehicles, and all that, and so more of the same things will come online at the same time, and then essentially they can move from one gameplay to the other, less work.
Right.
Yep.
We've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 questions left. And I think some of these are going to be pretty quick. Actually, 11 questions, because some of them are still like, hey, I put question in my question. Jock Cop asks, has the release of the Polaris been a wake-up call for people about crewing and running large or capital ships? No.
Not for us, no.
I think some people.
I think
yeah, some.
I do think it'll be 4. Or the release of 3.24.3 and 4.0 that will actually make them go, oh shit.
And engineering.
Yeah. And engineering for sure. I think it's going to be a slow revelation over the course of the next 3 to 6 months that people will go, oh shit.
Yeah, definitely. It's a slow revelation kind of thing. It'll happen for everyone at a different time, but this year, I guess 2025 will be the year of the large ship reckoning, when people start to finally recognize it.
All right. Steve That Answer asks, what do you think the black silhouette for the prospector ship is? I've heard that's called the Misfortune was the theory. The one that looks kind of like a prospector.
I've seen people say
Misfortune. Misfortune.
And it's a salvage. It's basically it's a Pioneer, but salvage.
See, the thing I have a running theory, but it is only theory. In the photo, the silhouette photo, it shows two people, and it has an elevator at the back. Why would you need an elevator at the back when it has a lift at the front on the prospector? And I think what they've done is they've blocked the door, and there's enough space to, those ring seats on the reclaimer for the scanning and stuff. Yeah. I think there's one there for the tractor beam. So one person operates the tractor beam and the other person does the stripping. And I think the ship is tailored towards salvaging buildings, because you will need something to do that to complete the base building loop. Because you've got to be able to build it, salvage it, build it, salvage it, type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I've heard it's called the medium salvage. It may just be a buffed up.
It's smaller. It's technically smaller than the Vulture. So the thing that we've realized is the Vulture technically is a medium.
Yeah.
It's 3 meters over the pad size.
Really? The Vulture is medium?
Yeah.
If I actually opened up Hangar Link, the Vulture is actually larger than the Prospector.
See, but
now I know you could argue it's the arms.
Yeah.
But I'm talking purely based on metrics. Yeah.
But
so basically,
we're
they're
using
both
metrics.
similar.
We're using size to talk about ships now, but when we were talking about capitals earlier, it was about components. So like, where does that even change?
And that's the problem.
It's pad size, because CIG CIG is moving towards pad size. So like technically a capital requires a capital component because capital components you cannot actually replace. They are built into the superstructure. So if you have a capital power plant, you cannot remove it. So they want to make sure that those ships have value in a different way. But then it also comes to size. So like the longer, the
S5 and up.
Yeah. The way I like to describe it, which is going to make sense to nobody except for people who like MechWarrior, is that the size characteristic of like the capital, medium, large, small ships, that is more about the general characteristics, kind of like tonnage, like light, medium, heavy assault mechs. And then the pad size is going to be your like kind of like the difference between omni mechs and regular mechs, like intersphere mechs, where like you're looking at completely different purposes, or sometimes different like arrangements, because you can have like a big heavy mech in battle mech that is basically an assault mech, but it just doesn't have the weight, so.
And we had that confusion too between how they said like they had internal sizes that were called the same names as ours, and then the external ones, and a dev would say medium, and then all of a sudden was it do you mean the internal medium or the external medium?
Yeah.
So that's why they now go 1 through to 6.
Yeah. So pad 1 instead of saying extra small,
through to S6.
they say size 1 through 6. So like a snub is size 1, a fighter is size 2, medium, what we call medium is like a size 3 or
Yeah. So technically speaking, like the Prospect is an S2 and the Vulture falls into S3. So
All right. Next question comes from Socially Confused, who asks, we are currently in game. Were there currently in game ships which are supposed to have PDSs but haven't got them yet? No, I think all the ones. Which ones?
No, I think there's a couple that are meant to have them. I think there's also a couple of concept ships that are going to get them as well.
Because the only ones
there was one I was reading about yesterday. I can't remember the name, but there was the Phoenix, but there was apparently another one, and I've forgotten what it was. Someone was telling me about it yesterday. I'd have to go back through all the questions.
Surprised the 890 doesn't have them.
It does.
Oh,
yeah, it was added. So
there'll be a lot of those Origins and ships that are kind of more defensive.
Yeah, the only ones that I knew of was the 890 and the Phoenix were the only ones that I know of. So PDSs is the point defense systems, or PDCs, point defense cannons. So Reclaimer is what you're saying? Reclaimer is the one that's supposed to have it?
Oh, yes. Yes, okay. It is the Reclaimer. That is the one that came out yesterday. Yes, thank you. Who remembered that one?
Yeah, Jock Cop did.
Yep, thank you, Jock Cop. I think Jock Cop was in the stream yesterday, so he probably remembers it.
All right. Yeah. Narrator or Nator Brits asks, pretend Polaris and the Idris cost the same. Which would you buy? Choose the Polaris.
Polaris.
They cost the same. The Idris is bigger.
If they cost the same. Yeah, it's different.
The Idris? Are you guys crazy?
I want the Polaris, man. That seems like a more doable size.
It's if you remove cost, it's always the Polaris, because like the answer is neither, but for me, just because like you need to have
like 1 minute.
Okay. Like 10, 15 people to run an Idris properly.
13 for a Polaris. The Idris is technically now in Squadron 42 up to 83 people, but that's all AI and NPCs. So I think it's going to be like double at least, and probably 24, somewhere in that vicinity.
So you're looking at like a small organization, like a not insignificant number of like, even if like 4.0 goes live with the, what is it, 380 it currently has in terms of people, and that's still like, a fifth of the server or something like that, or like an eighth of the server. It's a huge amount of people.
You got to remember the Cutlass Steel was a thing at some point, and that was more than half the server.
Yeah,
it was 28. So it's what you like too. Like, do you like the torpedoes, or do you like extra fighters? Like, there's no perfect ship. It's what you enjoy.
Redman asks, is there a reason why they went with a medical Terrapin rather than a medical Valkyrie? Because the Terrapin has lore that it has.
The Terrapin's the best ship in the game.
Well, because the Terrapin already has lore of it having a medical variant, and I'm dead set on believing that they were updating the Terrapin because of the new scanning gameplay that they've been working on. And so while they were working on it, they just said, "Fuck it, let's do a variant," because they know that Tomato, because they watch all of us, they watch the Info Runners and the Space Tomato.
They do,
because it's the streamers who are changing the game, Paul.
Well, I mean, my biggest problem is they don't watch enough YouTubers, because there's plenty of really good YouTubers out there. That
no, they do. It freaked me out, the number of people that knew who I were straight away.
Not
it
you.
really freaked me out.
Well, we're talking about.
I'm talking about CIG. Like devs just went up and went execute, and I went.
Well, that's because I'm saying different, because like there's you, and then there's like Law of the West. Like how many? I have not seen any devs interacting with Law of the West or Texas Space.
He doesn't
Navy.
interact with many people at all. To be honest, I've reached out to him, and
I know
he just doesn't reply.
But
the point to stand though, Twitch and streaming in general gets more attention than like, content that you post.
And you've done a lot of work with me and Space Tomato, and you've even reached out to other content creators and brought them on. So like it's you've had that cross exposure between different platforms.
Yeah, okay, I get you.
With Info Runners, we've done that in the past. Compared to someone like why am I blanking on his name? He was in my chat earlier. There's a fantastic content creator who's like bigger than me.
STL Youngblood hasn't done any cross promotion stuff.
Yeah, I think Youngblood has
another one.
But it was like it starts with a J. I want to say JDS, but I don't know if that's right or not. But he's got like 10K subscribers, and I don't think CIG's ever reached out to him. Like, so
they just reached out to Ferrister.
Now to Ferrister.
Yes.
Not Jared yet.
They're getting there. They're getting there.
And that's my problem, is that this is a completely separate thing. Like CIG has a blind spot, which is content creators on YouTube, because they've been so heavily focused on Twitch because it's like super popular. But YouTube has something like 80% of all gaming traffic goes through YouTube. It's like 80% of all searches on the internet goes through for gaming is on YouTube.
So Twitch isn't actually not as popular as YouTube. The other thing is they just don't have the staff to do this.
No,
I mean Twitch is way more immediate.
Yes,
immediate.
It's not hyper. It's
So
really like in the moment. But you're like, if someone's watching a video, like an evergreen video on Star Citizen, say talking about like the capital ships that are coming out soon, or doing a walkthrough of like the Idris or whatever, like that's something that people are going to look up over and over and over again.
Well, you can watch YouTube whenever you want. Twitch, you have to watch when they're streaming it.
Yes, but I mean, what I'm saying is that that content would give you more. If CSG reached out and talked with those folks, they would get a lot more attention to whatever they were doing, rather than just talking with streamers. Because like, if I do a giveaway, that's nice. Thank you, CIG, for doing that. And none of us are going to complain about getting free ships to give away, and it works, but it would be more impactful if it was more of a partnership or some sort of way of cross promoting or something like that, saying, showing that your work, like having morphologists sit down with some of the designers of ships and talking with them, or even just like having CIG say, hey, this ship is coming out, we want more if we're going to pay you to do a video for these sorts of things. It doesn't have to be payment. It can be little things like that. But
even just roundtables would be cool if they pulled bunches of us in and
pillar talk.
Have that's how they should do pillar talk. Yeah, that'd be great. Oh my god,
that'd be a mess.
But I mean, but like the thing is there's a lot of content creators whom they do not interact with at all on YouTube, who are bigger than me. Like, and I get like, just because I know a lot of the devs, I guess, I don't know at this point, but it's just one of those.
It's the instant reaction.
I have no idea how they.
Yeah, it's the instant versus the leaving a comment thing. Yeah.
All right. Next question comes from. The effective answer is also they're not redoing the Valkyrie, so that's why they decided to do a medical terrapin. I don't think they'll ever.
The Valkyrie would be too big. It'd be like the Apollo in size.
Yeah, it already has the ability to hold a metapin or not a metapin, a NERSA. So. It doesn't need it. It already has a regen bed or the bed. Ultimate Vigilus asks, do you think they will release the Banu Trip Taker? A Banu people mover, kind of like a Genesis, but a Banu.
At IAE or
No,
when?
not at IAE, but like, I don't know when.
How
Yes,
big is it?
eventually.
Yeah.
But it'll be this far away.
It's not even CIG soon. It's just soon. They'll release it soon.
Yeah, how big is it?
Yes.
Probably come with the Banu expansion pack.
I was trying to think if we'd see it before the Merchantman, but I doubt it.
They've never talked to anything about that. I think that's mostly a meme, unless somebody can find a link of them talking about a brand new Trip Taker. I think it's just a meme. Verdas asks, if cargo just falls into your cargo bay, who are you to question it? That's not a question. Oh god, the question bot.
Technically, it's a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a statement.
Fred Schultz asks, could you give us a roundup of this naive part of chat about the brand new Trip Taker? We couldn't. I couldn't tell you what the hell they're talking about.
They've been smoking whenever the Banu's been smoking.
Yeah, you've been partaking too much in the Shloma, my friend. The Shlomo, the Shloma, as it was called. Do you think it would be beneficial to have the Starlancer Max wings fold down when you drop the landing gear? It would reduce its width by 10 to 15 feet for landing in tighter locations.
What's that about? So the Freelancer Max is Freelancer Max or
Starlancer Max? Starlancer Max. They're asking if the wings, because if they the wings fold up, it would give you about 10 to 15 feet on.
It would be beneficial. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
if that means they should do it, but
yeah, not so much on the Freelancer because it's kind of small, but now you've got that big. It does make it quite girthy, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that. It would definitely make it fit into smaller spaces.
I don't think if it needs to though, because I mean it's kind of whole shtick is to be big. It's not really a.
And again, it's not going to change
on its size.
Yeah,
it's not going to change the pad size, and it's also not landing inside other ships' hangars or anything. So again, the need kind of goes a little bit out the window, doesn't it?
Gin and Tonic asked the last question, who asks, Crusader line started out with these lovely curves in the Genesis concept and the Hercules. Over time, they've gotten more and more angular. Which aesthetic do you prefer? I agree with what we had discussed before, where I think the thing is that the smaller that it gets, the more angular it gets, but the larger it gets, the more curved it becomes. I think it's just a matter of budget and what they're trying.
So instead of cutting costs, it's cutting curves.
Yeah, it's one of those things that fits the narrative of Crusader, because Crusader is in financial trouble right now for a lot of reasons, and it also fits with the aesthetic that they wanted to go for, where Crusader's got this sort of higher end, it's sleek, and then when it gets smaller, it becomes more boxy. I think that's really it's kind of like mimics how cars actually are designed, where like, high end sports models or sports cars are incredibly smooth. You barely have any edges on them at all. Whereas when you get into not even like racing cars, just like aesthetically pleasing, expensive cars. And then when you get down to, budget models, you're looking at a lot of boxes on wheels. So. Yeah.
No, I agree.
That is the last question. So we almost nailed the exact length of both the question and answer session is almost the exact same length as the main discussion. So
wow.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Thank you to Execute, and of course the Inferners in general for coming by. Thank you for Space Tomato for coming by. Make sure you check out the youtube.com/the Inferners, and of course Space Tomato everywhere where Space Tomatoes are found. Usually on YouTube and Twitch, but all of YouTube and Twitch.
Space Gardens.
The Galactic Garden.
The Galactic Garden Initiative, right?
Yes.
Your organization.
Hashtag join GII.
And if you enjoyed this, please hit that follow button on Twitch. If you're watching this after the fact, hit the like button if you enjoyed this. Subscribe for more content and hit the bell icon to be notified when these release. As always, I want to hear your thoughts on any of these questions down below in the comments. And if you did enjoy this a lot, make sure you check us live at twitch.tv/theastropub, youtube.com/theastropubLive, on Saturdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Would love to have you come on and join chat and ask your own questions to whatever cast. Next week, we'll be talking with a brand new cast about IAE, just kind of going over IAE and talking about what's going on and everything else like that. And then we'll go over kind of like the beginning of IAE and then the end of IAE. And if you want to check us all out, sometimes together, you can check out the Info Runners throughout the entirety of not next week, but the week after next, well, starting next Friday. Where we'll be doing daily coverage of what's going on at IAE.
Whole bunch of coverage.
Thank you for joining us. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. All right, chat. You can hear us for right now, but because we got to find somebody to raid.
Chat.
By the way, Tomato, did you host me on YouTube when you raided over?
Rated you
on YouTube as well? Okay, cool. Because like when we started, it was at 190 people. I was like, what the fuck?
And people were very excited for this episode.
Yeah. Oh, everyone loves these episodes. So, Dad Bod Nerd has got 114 people. Everyone's saying to go raid him. Let's. You know what? I'm gonna ignore you, chat, and instead I'm going to raid Space Cutlet, because Cutlet went on last week and had a fantastic show, and I know why it's a fantastic show, because about midway through the week, Tomato messaged me and been like, "Holy shit, dude! This show is amazing. What you had with Space Cutlet."
Yeah,
so
it was a good talk.
If you didn't catch that last week, you go check it out, because it's really, really good talk about the how Star Citizen is becoming an MMO and what problems they're going to run into. So, thank you for hanging out with us. Enjoy Cutlet. Later, y'all.
Bye.
Later.
Oh, you guys can't say. I just waved, in case you were wondering.